Before moving on, kwenye hii tutorial, you have to have at least understanding of that programming language and also an understanding of Flutter. So at least umefanya small basic steps, at least 1 or 2 or 3 months kuweza kupata understanding of that na Flutter in general ili uweze kumove on. So kwenye hii tutorial nzima kutakuwa kuna uhitaji wa wewe kuwa na uelewa especially zile basic stuffs ambazo zipo kwenye Dart pamoja na Flutter, how to do some layouts, what is raw, what is column, how do you define functions in Dart, how do you define classes. So you have to have an understanding of that before moving on, otherwise itakuwa a bit hard to follow along. Okay, so at the end of this tutorial utajifunza jinsi ya kuandika clean architecture in Flutter, utajifunza how to do API integration in Flutter using Bloc and other supporting package kwa ajili ya to do network calls. Utajifunza how to do unit testing. Testing is very important kwenye application yoyote, so tutakuja kujua what is it. So we're going to do unit testing small part. Okay, tutakuja kufanya block testing. We're going to know what is block later on, and also lastly we're going to do widget testing. So at the end of this tutorial tutakuwa na uelewa mzuri wa organize and kuandika application yako in a more professional way that is easy, that it's very easy for other developers to understand, and also making it easy to maintain and manage later on. So we're going to learn a lot of important stuffs at a very basic level. We're not going to dive deep sana kwa sababu of time. I don't want this tutorial to be too long. Okay, so that's it. On this series tutajifunza jinsi ya kuandika professional Flutter applications. Kwa hiyo tutajifunza kitu kinaitwa clean architecture, and kwenye series hizi zima tutatumia also Bloc for state management. So on this episode tutaangalia what is clean architecture and dhumuni la kutumia clean architecture au kuensure kwamba application yetu tunaandika kwa kutumia hii design pattern of clean architecture. So what is clean architecture? Is a design pattern that can help you build more modular and maintainable and testable apps. It does this by separating the code into layers. Each layer inakuwa na a specific responsibility. Clean architecture, it's highly recommended for large and complex apps. So unaweza kuandika application yako in any way you want, just to ikawa tu inafanya kazi as intended. Lakini kwa nini tunabidi tu ensure tunaandika application yetu in clean architecture? Kwa nini? Kwa hiyo this is not recommended kwenye kila application tutaandika, lakini it's a good thing na inasaidia sana kwenye application ambazo ni kubwa au application ambazo zinakuwa au zinaongezwa features as every single day. Kwa hiyo application ambayo inaweza kawa na possibility ya kukua, lazima tu ensure tunatumia clean architecture. Clean architecture aims to create system that are testable. Kwa hiyo tunajua tunavyoandika software, there's kuna wakati lazima ufanye testing, which testing inasaidia kuensure kwamba application inakuwa shipped to production with less or minor issues ambazo zinaweza zikatokea. Kwa hiyo testing is very very important kwenye application, especially application kubwa ambazo millions or thousands of users wana consume data zako, wanatumia application yako. Kwa ukiandika testing, it's very very important na inasaidia ku identify issues mapema kabla hazijawa identified na your customers. So with clean architecture it means tunaweza tukafanya testing vizuri, kwa sababu business rules can be tested without UI, meaning kwamba zinajitegemea. Uandishi wetu tunavyoandika tutakuwa tuna ensure kwamba they not depend or being affected tunapofanya testing, which is very easy also kufanya testing ukiwa umeandika application yako with clean architecture. Independent of UI, tutaona tutapokuja kwenye code jinsi gani ya kuandika user interfaces in a way that it's easy to change or switch or designing kuandika in another way, au kaja tu baadaye in the future kubadilisha buttons or cards. So it's easy kufanya any modification later on kwenye user interfaces ambazo utakuja kuziandika, utakuwa unazibadilisha. Kwa hiyo unatumia clean architecture, it's very easy. Tutakuja kuona independent of database. Sometimes unaweza kuanza na database moja, maybe unaanza na Firestore Firebase, then later on ukaona kwamba maybe kuna feature ambayo itahitajika, maybe itahitaji Firebase itakuwa not suitable, maybe inaweza kuwa expensive or it's not that it was not designed kwa hiyo feature, so we can switch maybe, au kutoka kuna hiyo scenario ambayo itakufanya utumie database nyingine. So tukitumia clean architecture it means itatusaidia, itakuwa ni very easy kuswitch. So you can swap out any database or switch to another type of database without affecting your business rules. Kwa business rules zinakuwa not bound to the database, zinajitegemea na zinakuwa independent, depend on any database. Database utachagua wewe baadaye, ukibadilisha ukiswitch to another database, your business rules will still be there, it will never be affected. So it's very important, very important. Applications zinakuaga baadaye unatumia database 2 au 3, so lazima uwe umeandaa au umestructure application yako in a way kwamba inaweza accept these scenarios in the future. Independent of any external agents, meaning business rules simply don't know anything about outside world at all. Kwa hiyo nini maana ya independent of any external agents? Kwamba unavyozi define business rules or client requirement kwa jina lingine, unatakiwa ustructure in a way kwamba haitakiwi kudepend in any external sources. External sources ndo zinatakiwa zidepend kwenye business rules, lakini business rules haitakiwi kudepend. How are you going to fetch or consume APIs maybe, or utapofanya maybe na Firebase, utapofanya maybe na MySQL or Postgres, zile APIs utakazo deal nazo, utakazopewa maybe na backend, business rules haitakiwi kuwa affected. API ikibadilika, business rules haitakiwi kujali. Jinsi gani unafanya implementation of dealing with network calls, business rule haijali, haitakiwi kujali au kuwa affected. So you have to understand hicho kitu. So tutakuja kuona how we do this to ensure kwamba business rules are safe and they don't depend on any outside world. Why use clean architecture? Kwa nini tunatumia clean architecture? Separation of concern. It divide the application into layers, making it easy to manage and understand. Separation of concern ni kwamba kila class unaipa or function unaipa single responsibility. Yani kwamba kuwe kuna separation of concern. Kama uta design interface ifanye kazi ya display interface. Kama una define function ifanye kazi specific task. So why do we mean by separation of concern? It means kwamba kila class or kila function utakayo define hiyo ina carry the only single responsibility. UI hazitakiwi kudeal na network calls. How? Tutaona. Network calls hazitakiwi kudepend na UI. Tutaona. Also business rules hazitakiwi kuwa kudepend on user interface utakayo define. Business rules zinatakiwa zijitegemee, interface or user interface zinatakiwa zijitegemee, and also having a specific task. So kama form unatakiwa utengeneze reusable form, so it means kazi yake ni kuchukua input. Kwa hiyo kusiwe kuna form, kusiwe kuna ndani yake umumu kuna buttons zinatakiwa ifanye kazi ya button, kurender a button. So tutakuja kuona how do we do this. Maintainability, change in one part of the app do not affect other, making it easy to maintain and update. So tutakuja kuona kwamba kuna scenario maybe later on umeifanya feature lakini later on inahitaji modification, maybe kuna some bugs based on any dependency update. Utaona jinsi gani tunatakiwa tu ensure kwamba tunatengeneza a way which ukirudi baadaye kuimprove a certain feature au kufanya mabadiliko based on the client requirement, it's supposed to be easy. You una understand kila kitu, flows zote zimepangiliwa vizuri, inakuwa ni rahisi. Na hata kama baadaye atakuja as a developer kwenye feature ulio implement wewe, natakiwa aweze ku understand vizuri umefanya nini kwenye hiyo feature. Okay, testability, each layer can be tested independently, leading to more robust and reliable code. Tutakuja kuona tutafanya testing also kwenye hii series. Kwa tutaona jinsi gani tukiandika tukifollow clean architecture, jinsi gani we can test things or classes easily, kwa sababu tutakuwa kila kitu kinafanya specific task, so it's very easy kufanya setup kwa ajili ya kufanya testing. Tutaona how we do it. Scalability, it's provide a clear structure that makes the application more scalable as it grows. Kwa hiyo scalability it means kwamba later on app inavyozidi kuwa na more features, kwa sababu tu ya kuensure kwamba tunawapa customers or end users more user experience nzuri, au kufix tatizo fulani ambalo customers wametuletea based on user feedback. So we end up in a way that tutajikuta always tunatakiwa tufanye upgrade, tunatakiwa tufanye maintenance, tunatakiwa tuongeze features ili ziweze ku accommodate the need or the demand of our users. Kwa hiyo scalability itakuwa more yani crucial, and an application itakuwa kubwa sana. So kama tutakuwa tujafollow clean architecture, it means tutapata issues mbeleni ku maintain, ku fix bugs ambazo zitakuwa zina evolve. So with this clean architecture inakuwa very easy kufanya maintenance, lakini application as itavyoendelea kukua itakuwa ni very easy ku maintain. Lakini vile nature the purpose kubwa clean architecture ni ku handle application ambazo zinakuwa kila siku. Key concept of clean architecture. Clean architecture is typically divided into several layers, each with a specific responsibility. Kwenye clean architecture, kitu cha kwanza kuna entities. These are business objects of the application. Hapa ndo tunapoanza kutengeneza msingi wa hiyo feature. So entity ndo they express the most general and high level rules. So how it means kwamba hapa ndo tutadefine kitu gani kinahusika kwenye hiyo feature. So for example, unaweza kuwa na deal na product. So what is product, ina nini ndani yake? So we will define them all kwenye hii entity, na entity haitakiwi kutegemea kitu chochote outside entity, inatakiwa ijitegemee. Other layers wata depend on entity. So entity is the first thing unapoanza kutengeneza unapo implement hii feature yako. Entity is the first thing that you will do. Utaanza ku express ni nini unafanya. Kama una deal na users, ni user as a user na nini ndani yake, first name, last name, is verified, which state, kila kitu ambacho kinabeba define user as user. So this is that hii vitu vitatokana na client requirement au requirement ya organization. Based on that feature, then utaweza kutazi identify hapa kwenye entities. Use case contain the application specific business rules. They organize the flow of data to and from the entities and interact with gateways and repositories. Use case, huyu ndo at act in between. Gateways meaning dealing with remote or local data sources, pamoja na the presentation or interfaces. Kwa use case kazi yake ni kudefine a single action. I'm fetching user, that's its action to define as it is. Say there's a one use case. I'm doing sign up, it's a sign up use case. I'm doing deletion, maybe na delete user or na delete all users. It's an action, so you have to define it as it is. So tutakuja kuona how do we do that, lakini all in all kuwa na separation of concern, that practice highly separations of concern kwenye application. Repository, provide abstract interface for data operation. Hapa ndo tuna define interfaces. Kwa wale watu waliotoka kwenye TypeScript, utakuwa na uelewa haraka kwamba interfaces ni nini. Ni kama tu zina define, ni kama type safety, kwamba don't do things or what I'm expecting from this class or this function. Kwa hiyo tuta define interfaces ambazo zitakuwa zina interact na remote data source. Kwa hiyo kama tutakuwa na kazi ya kufanya maybe dealing with fetching users or deleting users or updating users, then tuta define how are we going to do that. It define how to do something, but it doesn't do the implementation. How do you do certain task, but haifanyi implementation yoyote. Implementation itaenda kufanyika kwenye data layer, ambao atakuwa na depend heavily kwenye hii repository to understand the structure of how I'm going to do it and what is the repository expecting. So tutaona jinsi gani hizi repository or hizi data operations zitafanyika heavily kwenye data layer. We're going to see what is it. Data sources, hapa ndo implement the actual data operation, interact with database API or other storage solutions. Kwa hiyo hapa ndo utapokuwa tuna deal sana na kuinteract na remote data source or local data source if it's a requirement to store information zozote ndani ya app. So tuta define here, lakini data source ita depend heavily kwenye repository ambazo zimekuwa defined kwenye ile this number 3 where I mentioned repositories. Kwa hiyo data source itafanya hizo implementation. Kumbuka repository ina define interfaces, but it doesn't deal with implementation. Kwa hiyo ni kama una define business rules, ni kama una define what the app expect, but haufanyi hizo implementation inakuja kufanyika na data source. So all in all, vyote hivi ni kwa sababu ya kuensure kunakuwa kuna mpangilio mzuri wa folders, kunakuwa kuna mpangilio mzuri which will help us kufanya testing vizuri, lakini vile kufanya maintenance yes, vitu kama hivyo, kuensure tu kwamba we don't give too much a single class, which would help maybe an issue later on kwenye kubadilisha kitu au kutoa kitu. So that's why data source itatakiwa implement vitu vyote ambayo imepewa au imekuwa defined kwenye repositories. State implement and manage particular state. Hizi kwenye state ndio tutakuwa tuna deal na state management, ku-update our interfaces based on the state. Kwa hiyo tutakuja kuona kwa this series tutatumia Bloc sana, lakini kuna state zipo nyingi, gettext, report, zote hizi zipo kwenye Flutter. So but for us we're going to use Bloc. Kwa hiyo tutakuwa tunaona jinsi gani ya kudeal na Bloc, jinsi gani ya kudeal na state management ya application yetu nzima kwa kutumia Bloc. So this is where we do tutakuja kufanya, define hizi states zote. Views, the UI component kwa sisi tunaodeal na Flutter, kutoka kuna Flutter widgets that display the data and handle user interaction. Kwa hiyo hapa ndo define user interfaces ambazo zinaonekana kwa end users, kwa watumiaji wa application yetu. Kwa hiyo hapa tutadili sana na muonekano. Kwa hiyo tutakuja kuona how to structure this in a very professional way, ensure kwamba our code are clean. Tutakuja ku understand jinsi gani ya ensure kwamba tuna reduce too much code. Kwa hiyo tutakuwa tunaandika clean and reusable widgets. Kwa hiyo tutaona vitu vyote hivyo, lakini vyote vitakuwa kwenye views. This is where the user interfaces are defined for our application. Clean architecture. So when applying clean architecture in Flutter, you typically organize your project into separate layers or modules. Domain layer contains entity. Tulishasema entity ni nini kwenye slides zetu za nyuma. Business object, repository, pamoja na use cases. It consists of pure code. So domain layer, this is hapa ndo tunapoanza, ndo chimbuko letu, ndo msingi unapoanzia hapa. Kila kitu, business rules, tumeongelea sana business rules nyuma. Hapa ndo zinakuwa defined. Business rules zote za hiyo feature zinakuwa defined hapa. So zitakuwa ndani ya domain layer. Then kuna data layer, contains model, repository and data sources. This layer implements interface defined in the domain layer. Data layer inategemea sana information kutoka kwenye domain layer. Without this, kama utatengeneza data layer ambayo depend on the domain layer, that is not clean architecture. It will implement everything based on the business rules or repositories that has been defined kwenye domain layer. Kwa hiyo hapa tutadepend heavily kwenye domain layer, kwenye kudeal na remote data source, fetching information and dealing with network calls. So the last is presentation layer, coordinates between the domain layer and the UI, responsible also for state management. Hapa presentation layer napo tutaweka state management, tutaweka also views ambao tumeongelea ni zile user interfaces ambazo zinakuwa displayed, sawa, zinakuwa zinaonekana kwa end user, tutadefine hapa. So typically clean architecture ina consist of hizi layer tatu. Ni jinsi ya kustructure, all in all ni kustructure application yetu in a way that is very easy to maintain, very easy to test and very easy to scale without causing any problems in the future. For the structure, so for example, tunaweza tukawa na scenario, feature itakuwa ni folder, ndani yake ina features itakuwa ni folder ambayo ina contain all features ambazo tutaziendelea kuziongeza as we grow. So for example, let's say tuna feature tumepewa maybe for based on client requirement kwamba we need to deal with users wangu kwenye maybe kampuni or organization yote. So first of all tutadefine user as a feature, and then ndani yake kutokuwa kuna domain layer. Tuliongelea domain layer ndo mzizi, and ndani yake kutokuwa kuna entity folders, kutokuwa kuna repository folder, kutokuwa kuna use cases folder. So domain layer ndo an act in between communicate na presentation layer na data layer. Domain layer depend kwenye any of these other two remaining layers. Yeye ndo ana define business rules, then ana pass on kwenye data layer ana deal na hizo business rules ku do the proper implementation. So kama ni kudo na network calls, yeye data layer ata deal na network calls, but ata return au ataleta information ambazo domain layer amezi outline. So domain layer ndo msingi, ndo mzizi unapoanzia, ndo tuna define kila kitu, then data layer ana consume kila kitu au anafuata maelekezo ya vitu vilivyokuwa define kwenye domain layer. Kwenye data layer tadili na data sources, then hapa mostly ni kudeal na external vitu vya nje ambavyo havipo ndani ya application. Tunaongelea vitu kama APIs au vitu kama local databases ambazo unaweza zika define also kwenye application. Kuna models hapa. Models it's heavily used kama tuna deal na network calls au tuna deal na APIs. Tuta define models ambazo zitaweza kazi kubwa ya model ni kufanya serialization na deserialization for Flutter or that to understand data zote zilizotoka nje ambazo zimetoka nje ya application yetu. Repository yeye ndo anafanya kazi ya ku communicate na ku implement zile repository au functions ambazo tumezidefine kwenye abstract class. Kwa hiyo ukiangalia kwenye domain layer kuna repository. So there we just define abstract classes, we don't do implementation. Kwa sababu gani? Single responsibility. I'm not defining, I'm not doing the implementation, I'm just giving you the instructions and the rules and what I'm expecting and what I'm not expecting. Then repository is going to do all of the implementation. Kama utadina network calls, that's on you. Kama utafetch information kutoka kwenye APIs, that's on you. Kama utafetch information kutoka kwenye local database, that's also on you. Kama utafetch, utakuwa na deal, utafetch information kwenye Firebase, that's on you. But mimi nimekupa clear instruction of what I'm expecting kwenye hii application yetu. So you will not define or do anything that it didn't as I defined kwenye domain layer. So domain layer is very important. This is where we define business rules. Data layers, this is where we do those heavy implementation. Kila kitu kitafanyika hapo kwenye kufetch data, kwenye kustore data, kwenye kusend data, zitafanyika zote kwenye data layer. Then presentation layer, kazi yake ni kudeal heavily na muonekano wa application. Hapa kwa scenario yetu kutakuwa na block which is the state management. Itadeal na kudeal na kumanage state zote ya hii certain feature. Kutakuwa kuna pages ndo views kwa jina lingine. Tutadefine user interfaces zote kwenye hiyo feature. Kutakuwa na widgets also. This is so it's very important kwa sababu ya kuwa na clean code, kwamba hapa tutaweka zile reusable widgets ambazo tunaona zinajirudia sana. So we have to we have to clean it, making sure we make those widgets reusable kwa hii feature ya user. Kwa hiyo kwa wakati mwingine unakuta kuna vitu vingi vinajirudia, so we don't have to define them every time, hizo component au widget kwa scenario yetu. So we will do all those reusable widgets, tutaziweka ndani ya widgets folder. So we are going to see. So next tuta define our application, tuta create application, then tutaanza kuzipangilia, tutaelezea folder structures zitakuwaje, and then we are going to do tutaanza kufanya coding and to see how do we build professional apps with the use of clean architecture and how do we do testing. So thank you very much. Let's continue on the next episode. Okay, now let's go to tuanze kucode. Then cha kwanza natengeneza a clean Flutter project, and this is how it's going to be called. About how to create this, you can just go to your terminal and then andika to Flutter create, then the name of the project, itatengeneza your project, but just be specific utataka hiyo project hiyo wapi, so you can navigate kwenye computer yako uangalie unataka kuweka pia project. Okay, so mimi nishatengeneza through Flutter create and the project imeita to clean Flutter. Sijajua jinsi ya kujina jina zuri. Okay, so natumia VS Code. You can use any editor of your choice. Kuna za kutumia Android Studio, HLJ, any of your choice. Kwa hiyo project yetu. So nataka tu ni clean. I don't need this window. This off to trash. I don't need it. I don't need a web. I know for sure tutatengeneza kwenye project. I don't need macOS. Bye bye. I don't need Linux also. Bye bye. Okay, so kwenye clean architecture, folder structure, how are we going to put it? How are we going to organize kwenye folder yetu vizuri? Okay, so the first thing what I do ni kwenye ndani ya lib, kwa sababu hii ndo an entry point. Hii ninakuja tu na Flutter create, inakuwa hapa run, which ina run Flutter project ya nzima. This is just a widgets ambazo wanakutengenezea tu just a boilerplate to start with. So we don't need this, okay, but tutakuja tu kuzipangilia, no need for now. Okay, so first I create a folder called source. Okay, source, and then ndani ya source I'm going to create another 2 folders. Tutatengeneza folder ya core. What is core? Core is tutaweka vitu vyote ambavyo folder nzima itashare, and then tutakuwa sasa na folder ya features. So features huku ndo tutaweka features ambazo tutakuwa tunaendelea kudevelop as we go. So core, kwenye core hapa tunakuwa na to start with tutakuwa tuna folder ya network. Pale mostly tutakuwa na deal na network calls. Tutakuwa na folder ya utils, helpers, any classes or extensions ambazo tutatumia kwenye folder kwenye project yetu. Then tutakuwa tuna folder ya errors. Itadina mostly error during the network calls. Tutakuwa na folder ya D. We're going to see it. What is that? For dependency injection. Tutaweka tupa vitu vyote humo. Tutakuwa na folder ya common. Mostly hapa zitakuwa ni widget ambazo ziko very common, tunatumia kwenye nani zetu nzima, nani project nzima. Okay, I think that's it for start. So as kwenye previous episode tuliongelea kwamba clean architecture ina contain layers. So tutakuwa tuna layer 3. Layer ya kwanza tutakuwa na domain layer, tutakuja nimeshaelezea kule. Tutakuwa tunakuwa na data layer, tutakuwa vile tuna presentation layer. So this is how we organize our folder, especially kwenye clean architecture. Kuna data layer, kuna domain layer, kuna presentation layer. Okay, so sasa hivi let's start with domain layer, and tutaendelea kuwa na hizi zingine huku. As we go tutaziongeza hizo layers zingine, tutaongeza folders kwenye kila layer tutavokuwa tunaongelea. For now tutaanza na domain. Domain inakuwa ina entities, business objects. Kutakuwa na entities, kutakuwa kuna repository, abstract classes zitakuwa huku. Kutakuwa kuna use cases. Okay, so entities. So kwa kwenye tutorial zetu hizi nitatumia kuna ya APIs nimetengeneza, just simple APIs just to demonstrate clean architecture. So nimetengeneza tu Laravel just to showcase. So this is an API. Mostly ukiwa mobile developer utadeal sana na kucheki how API is endpoint. We call this endpoint. For example here nimerun tu kwenye localhost kwenye kompyuta yangu. Kwa hiyo hizi zitakuwa utapewa na backend team watakupa endpoint ambazo utatakiwa uzifanyie kazi. So for example here nimetengeneza tu endpoint API simple endpoint ya customers. Okay, so the first thing unapotengeneza entity lazima uangalie kitu kama hicho. Lazima udeal na response ambazo zinakuwa generated unapo call endpoint. So for here I will have to look kwanza kabla ya kutengeneza entity. Okay, so here I see this is a customer. Okay, customer. Okay, customer ni customer kwanza, ni customer pili kwenye hizi koma tatu. Kwa hiyo just a list of customers in a display list of customers. So okay, so taangalia customer na nini. Okay, so there's ID. Oh, okay, kuna username, kuna email. Type ni type nini. Okay, this is a string. Okay, password imekuja null. Okay, this is a mistake. Okay, first name, then last name, then okay, address, phone number, created that, updated that. Okay, what are these? All of these are string. Only one is an integer. Okay, no problem. So hii ndio business object. Okay, so this is just a small example. Zinaweza ukapewa endpoint na vitu vingi sana ndani yake. So this is just a small example. So nimehit endpoint imeletea. Okay, so this is going to be my customer entity. Okay, so tutaenda kwenye entity, then tutatengeneza entity call customer. Customer entity entity.dat because we are dealing with that. Okay, so tuta define class call customer entity, next and equatable. I'm going to explain what is this. You have to do it, of course. Nimesahau kuenda kuongeza kwenye package. Why mostly tunatumia equatable. Equatable inatumika for comparison to kuangalia kama hii class yani we use equatable to help to differentiate between one class and another if these are the same identical class or they are different. So we use equatable. We're going to install it. Equatable Flutter. Let's hope okay, so that package that helps to implement value-based equality without need to explicitly use override and hash code. Mostly without this you have to do it. This kind of stuffs, override and hash code inatumika sana unavodeal na classes, especially kama hizi tuna list customers, so we have to differentiate one customer with another. This wanakuonesha how ungetakiwa ufanye hivi kwenye classes zote. Class yote ambayo unaitengeneza you have to use override, operator, blah blah blah, ujaze hizi zote. But with equatable, simple. You just install it. So let's install it and kwenye VS Code ukiweka package just control save it kufanya installation. So the package is there. Let's import it. Command period extend equatable. Okay, so nakata okay, no, we need to add this class. So I will go back to my postman and then okay, so we have ID. Okay, we have ID. We have nullable just for type safety. We have username, we have email, password, first name, last name, address, phone number, created data, updated data. So let's do this. Okay, so kuna string, username, kuna string, email. Okay, because I've got any string, let me just do this. So we're going to just change, kuna email, kuna first name, kuna last name, kuna address, kuna phone number, then kuna created data. Created data. Created data. And then kuna updated at. So updated at. I think this is all of it. Okay, we are going to generate constructor. And then we are going to override equatable. And upper, we will only need an ID to be able to differentiate. We don't need to add all of this. So okay, so let me find a way to explain this better. So the purpose, in order to be able to compare two instances of a person, we need to change our class to override and hash code like this to compare two instances of person. This is very important kwa sababu for scenario yetu, let's say here Postman we're listing out a list of customers. So with equatable inaweza ku identify kwamba kuna a difference between this first one and the ID1 and then ID2 and then ID3. So it helps us to identify that, and it's very important, especially tutapokuwa tuna deal na managing states, ku identify which one changed and ipi haijabadilika, ipi imebadilika. So we have to use equatable. It helps us avoiding this boilerplate, this code override. Hii hapa yote tungewabidi tuiweke. So imagine hii ni string peke yake name, lakini imagine zingekuwa string name kama scenario yetu, we have to tungejaza zote hapa. Let me see. I think I can have a way to can it come with data class JSON string equatable. I don't know, ingekuja ibonyeza data class, vitu vingi sana vitakuja, and then I don't want that. So this is our custom entity. Okay, so this is a business object. As we define kwenye domain, we are putting all the things that they don't depend on any other layer. Domain haitaki ku depend on another layer. Hii ndo ita provide hii custom entity itakuwa used kwenye data layer kwenye ku deal with network calls and returning this object. So the first thing you have to do is use either, I don't know, kuna different hizi za kucheck point, kuna insomnia kwenye VS Code, there's standard client, now inasaidia kwenye kudeal na hizi endpoint, this extension. So I normally use Postman. This is what I use in Postman. You can just download it, just type Postman and then titakuja. It's a very popular one. It's very easy to use. Postman API platform is an API platform for building and using APIs. So this is the first step. We check our endpoint and see in a return kitu gani, and then we define it in our project. So in order to use and return vitu ambavyo we are required to return. So the first thing, we define an entity, then we're going to define a repository, an abstract class. So So here to define an abstract class, meaning we're just going to define the interface, but the implementation itaenda kufanyika kwenye data layer. Okay, just for single responsibility. Okay, so new file. We're going to call it customer repository. Dot. Okay, so here we are going to define abstract classes, then data layer tafanya hizi implementation single responsibility, and kwa sababu haitakiwi kudepend on any outside dealing with any outside sources. Hapa tu define interface, define like, okay, naweza nikasema policy au seller kwamba this is what we want and this is how what you're going to return for us. Nevertheless, tuwete vitu ambavyo hatujavidefine hapa just for consistency, and also it helps us also kwenye kufanya testing, utaona. So an abstract class, or we can call it an interface. So here we are going to define the first thing. We are here kwa sababu customer repository tutakuja kudeal na remote data source, remote calls or local calls, but we are going to define hapa tutareturn kitu gani. So kwenye scenario yetu, kwa sababu tutakuwa first thing return, where is it? Return okay, to return list of customers. Okay, we are required as in task ya kwanza tumeambia bwana we have to return this list of customers kwenye application yetu, and endpoint ndio hapa tayari backend amesha generate, then ametuletea, tumeshaifanyia, tumehit endpoint, tumeona hii response, tumedefine customer entity yetu itakuwa na easy details. So kwenye customer repository we are going to define an interface where kwenye data layer atafanya have easy implementation calling dealing with network calls au local calls, meaning kwamba itakuwa ina fetch internally. Yes, so here first thing we have to install this package inaitwa dots. I think it's that functional programming, this one. So in a simple way, tunapo deal na vitu ambavyo hatuwezi kuvicontrol ni kwenye hii scenario yetu, kudeal na calls, kufetch information whether it's locally or it's a remote. Maybe kama hii scenario yetu tuna call an endpoint, a lot can happen. So that inatusaidia kuhandle mostly just an error handling. So what it does, it gives you two ways. Either if a request ikiwa successful, it's going to give you a successful response, and if it's not going to be a successful response, maybe kwenye server ina shida, au maybe kuna error yote ambayo unexpected error, and then haitakuletea, itakugupa an error type, an error response. So we're going to install it. Tenda kwenye pubs.emo, and then we're going to install. There's another way of storing this dependency. Yeah, I don't know, but okay. So ukifanya command save kwenye Mac itafanya install, au kwenye window I think is control save. Okay, so what is that going to help us? Ni kwenye scenario hii hapa, it gives you this okay, let me define it, and then tutakuja tuangalia what's going on. Customer entity, failure. So okay, that inachofanya, if there's an error, the left side is this one, Okay, let me hover it kwenye nani. Kuna left side and a right side here. Hii ndio API yao. Okay, the right side, if a call was successful, what do you want to return? So this is going to be the right side. And if there's error, what are you going to return? This is where we're going to define utaratibu wetu wa kudeal na errors. So this, for our scenario, we are going to define how to deal with errors kwenye nani yetu. So we're going to say this is going to be a function, an abstract class. Ndani yake kutakuwa na function. First function is going to be all, let's niletee all customers. This is going to be the first one. Yes, but the problem of there's a better way to use and to define a vizuri. Either in failure, if failure I define, of course, but what I'm trying to say is either in failure and the right side, whatever it's going to be, is it going to be a list of customer entity? Is it going to be the single entity of customer? This one tutatumia, it will always be there. This either, this the left side, because this is going to be tutakuja to define a global one to use for all of our network calls. So this is going to be a lot of code duplication. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to utils, then we're going to define type defs. Let me define type defs dot. Okay, why do we define this? Tutafanya this for reducing a lot of code. Well, kama tunajua kitu fulani always tutakirudisha. For our scenario tutarudisha failure on the left side. If there's going to be a failure, it will return failure always. There's nothing else. This side, right side, depends on our network. Tutakuwa tuna deal na kufetch aina gani ya data. This is going to be dynamic. So this is, we can change and bring whatever we want based on the business logic. So we're going to define how do I put it? We're going to define this. Let me define it. We're going to define this one, then T, generic type, future, because we're going to deal with network calls. So it's the future. Either this is from that. Either failure. T. Okay. Okay, so I think I have to define this. Okay, so I'm going to have to define this. I will define this, of course. Lakini tunachofanya hapa ni kwamba we are going to use this hii ndio tutakuwa tutaitumia kwenye application yetu. It's just to avoid duplication. This T is generic. This generic is not it's just inatusaidia tu kwenye kuipa hii nani yetu more power, flexibility to come up to put anything we want. So there is this in that call it generics in that. Generics are often required for type safety, but they have more benefit than just allowing your code to run. Properly specifying generic types result in better generated code. You can use generic to reduce code duplication. Na sisi ndio tunachofanya hapa. We are reducing code duplication. We know always to return either failure and list of customer, either failure and true, either failure and product. Maybe utakuwa labda tuna add feature product. So we are using generic hapa of T ili tuweze just to use the same this the result future kwenye all scenarios zetu tutakapokuwa tuna deal na network calls. So how then, hapa tutakuja kufanya let's go to customer repository. We are going to remove this area. We're not going to use that here. Tutatumia result. Did I save it? Result, sorry. Result future. Devs result future and list of customer entity. Okay, so tulichofanya hapa kikubwa tumetoa is either and failure, because we know always to return failure on the left side and always to return right success response kwenye right side. So this is just clean code and it help us, of course, ukiwa unajua kutumia hii help use boilerplate, but also consistency kwenye kudefine hizi nani zetu vizuri. So let's go and deal with this failure. Okay, so I just try this just to reduce time. See tutorial ndefu sana. So we're going to have a dedicated tutorial just to dealing with errors kwenye network calls. Just I don't want this tutorial kuwa ndefu sana. There's a lot of things to deal with in a professional way. So this is an abstract class, failure extend equitable, as we know, just to help us with equality. So yeah, okay. So kuna catch failure ambayo ina extend failure, and then kuna save a failure. Then this save a failure in extend failure, but we are going to use from exception ambayo exception tumesha define hapa, save exception and equitable and which equitable, and then implement exception. Kutoka kuna catch exception. So okay, what are exception? Exception is mostly just to the errors indicating that something unexpected happened. This is easy for kila same exceptions even in that. So it help tutasaidia kwenye ku catch exception na kuzi display. Purpose of catch errors, we have to display them kwa users. So there's just a way to make sure that we're giving a user only what he understand. If tuvigene vyote tunatakiwa sisi to handle, and then just displaying error. So errors mostly zinakuja tu kwenye backend, if example for network calls, but there are some errors, maybe internet or what it may happen. So this is it. So kwenye type easy type hii nani yetu tulioitengeneza, we're going to import a failure so ili situlete marangi mekundu. So failure we know. So purpose hii failure is going to be there always. This is going to change. Okay, so tumeshamaliza kutengeneza abstract class here for customer repository. Okay, next we're going to define use case. So as we know, use case kazi yake kubwa ni coordinate the flow of data between different layers. Kwa hiyo kwa upande wetu kazi yake ni be in between ya data layer and presentation layer. Na often use case ni single action, yani ni action moja tu. Maybe to fetch all user, that's unatengeneza use case yake peke yake. To fetch all user based maybe on ID, unatengeneza use case yake peke yake. So it's just a way of ensuring kwamba kuna ina help to separate business logic. Na it's also very easy to maintain later on kwa sababu inakuwa mainly focused for a single responsibility or a single task. So before defining use case, tutatengeneza abstract class ya use case. Why? Kwa sababu tunataka implementation use case iwe ina follow abstract class yetu ambayo tutadefine. So meaning kwamba hata kama tuta add more features or other developer atakuwa involved kwenye project, atakuwa na kutakuwa kuna a way, a consistent ya how do we define and implement our use case. So what do you want to do? Tutaenda hapa kwenye core, then we're going to define a folder called use cases. Tutaweka abstract classes huko zote nani ya use case, write use case to that. Okay, so let me define it and then I will explain it in detail. Abstract class use case. Result future. Okay, it's a type. Call that use case. Okay, what is happening here? Use case mostly kutakuwa kuna two way of implementing use case. The first is use case with params. What do I mean params? Params, it's unapo define use case, maybe mostly inakuwa maybe let's, for example, we're dealing with tutataka to call to deal na APIs, then we are going to define a use case ambayo ita depend on repository to define your single task ambayo maybe for example we're going to define the use case for getting all customers. Okay, so we want to define a global way of using use case. The first one is use case with params, which means kama use case yako itahitaji au itakuwa ina depend on sending certain type of data to the server or to the API, then you're going to use this type of use case. So to define type here, and type is what the use case return. It depends. So let's say umesenda utaambia maybe okay, on this endpoint we need an ID, then we're going to give you maybe customer based on that ID. So the type it's going to be customer, tutaona, and the param is going to be the ID. This is the one you're going to send to the server, this is the one you're going to expect to be response. So this is the use case with params. Okay, so for our example, for sisi tumedefine tayari function ya ku call tumedefine function ya ku call all customers, but we don't need the server or the API doesn't need anything from us. So we are going to use this use case. There is no params, there's not going to be params. So I'm going to define a use case without params. We're going to call it, so it's supposed to be result future type. You can call it. Okay, so the first one is use case with params. What API needs, if it needs anything from us, maybe from the user, then we're going to supply here pani params. Type is what we're expecting. Kama tukisha send maybe an ID, then an endpoint will return for us maybe a single customer. Okay, so for example, for our scenario, sorry, let me fungue this to explain it well. Okay, for us, is the server on? For us, if this endpoint doesn't need anything from us or from the user side, it's just an endpoint. If you hit it, it's going to return for you all users. So ikitokea scenario, maybe you have to supply an ID, maybe one. I don't know if I implemented this. I didn't implement, but there's this scenario. Maybe you need to provide details of say a certain customer. Then utaenda kutaweka, maybe an API will need an ID. So if you supply us an ID of that customer, we're going to give you all the details. Sorry, but it's the implementer, but that's what the case on this use case with params. So we're going to see later how to use it. But for our side, we're going to use this use case without params. We're just hitting an endpoint, then it's going to return for us what we need. So this is going to be all. This is going to how we're going to implement it for all of the features. It doesn't matter feature gani utakuja ku implement, maybe a product later on. We're going to use this tunapokuja ku define use case. So let's go here kwenye domain and add folder use case. Okay, so we're going to have the first use case. It's only one kwa sababu implement this one, get all customer. Kwa tutatengeneza use case is for getting all customer. So we're going to write it get all customer. Okay, get all customer to that. Okay, so how are we going to define our use case? First of tutaanza get a class. We're going to call this is get all customer use case. Okay, get all customer use case implements use case without params. Kumbuka tumedefine kule. Okay, so because use case without params is just only dependent, it needs a type. So what are you expecting to after a successful response unategemea type aina gani? Okay, so for our case we need customer type of list of customer entity. Suggestion. Okay, type of that. Okay, so to import customer entity what we define. Okay, so it there's missing override this one, the result future. Kumbuka result future, this is the to define mwanzoni. We're going to use it here and you can see how imetusaidia kwenye ku reduce either. So we're going to use the result and it's depend, the failure is going to be there, but this is what we're going to define. So for us, here I will define the type, then we're going to use it here. The type for us, because to make a list of customer entities, so result future on successful response, the right side italeta list of customer entity. Okay, so and use case depend on customer repository to communicate, kuweza kujua use case yetu ina focus kwenye kufanya kazi gani au kuimplement kitu gani. So let's customer use case, it's a dependency, inategemea customer repository kuweza kufanya kazi. Okay, and this is how it's easy testable code. Utaona tunafanya unit testing how it's easy to do this testing because of this kind of uandishi wa hivi jinsi ya kuandika depend. So always kama kuna dependency, maybe this for a scenario customer get all customer use case in a depend on customer repository, then you have to write it like this. It's very easy to do testing later on while going to tutaona how. Okay, so okay, define use case of get all customer. Okay, so this is our use case. So this use case zitakuwa nyingi sana, it depends. Get all customer use case, tutakuwa na get delete customer use case, tutakuwa na update customer use case, single responsibility, help us in maintenance and modification later on. That's why we need to have use case. So this is how we are going to use our use case. So now tumeshamaliza kwenye tumesha define our what is unit testing. Unit testing kazi yake kubwa ni kuensure kwamba hizi code tunazoandika functions zinafanya kazi as intended. So uzuri wa with the clean architecture, we can test small part of this functions, kwa sababu kama hii we can test this first. If it works properly, then we can go on. So if something is wrong, it's very easy to know that, and it's very important kuliko kupeleka application live or production alafu ikapata a lot of bad reviews or bugs. So unit testing just helping us to write test and tunapoandika test tutaandika test of checking if this maybe, for example, use case it's working as intended. So now, so kwenye unit testing there are a couple of things. First, kwenye VS Code you can define this nani easily. Okay, so kwenye VS Code we can say go to test. This when I click get our customer and then go to test, it will ask you, would you like to create test file? Itapangilia the folder based on your folder structure. Yes, create for me. Okay, so in doing testing, the first thing, kuna setup. Okay, what is setup? Setup itafanya kazi ya ku initialize au ku make sure some configuration ambazo it depends and tunataka kufanya testing ya kitu gani, to make sure zinakuwa initialized and they are ready for testing. So for our scenario tunataka tuanze kufanya testing tunataka to do unit testing ya get all customer. Okay, so first we are going to define late get all customer use case. Okay, and sasa let me show you. If we write, we initiate this to define kwamba okay, hey, make sure this get all customer use case class is ready for me to do testing. Then it will ask you, okay, there's a need of customer repository. Okay, kumbuka tulivyo define tuna depend on customer repository kuweza ku execute this action or this function. Okay, so in testing there is something called mocking. Mocking is just it's just helping us to isolate na to focus on only defining or on only testing it all customer use case. So we don't need this also to check or making sure it's working. We can just mock it like it's there, but we are not really needing it or to check the behavior or the state of this. So mocking is helping making sure any class that has an external dependency, we can mock that external dependency, and then we can focus on only the class that we want to test. So all of the external dependency we can do mocking. So in Flutter it's very easy to do that. First of all tunahitaji Mockito. Okay, so Mockito, okay, Mockito is inafanya kazi ya kufanya inatusaidia kwenye hii scenario yetu ya kufanya mocking. Okay, let me just show you if there's anything. Okay, is anything here that is needed? Okay, so just go on this pub.dev and search for Mockito. You will see different examples and how it helps us. So without Mockito, it kuna very complication na steps to make sure this class is ready. This customer repository also is ready for us is ready to kufanyia ili tuweze kuinject hapa kwanza testing. So we can do this. First of all, let's define something here called a folder, just help us do that. Okay, so test helpers do that. No, let's no, this is not the right name. Just let helpers kwenye testing helpers. Oh, helpers we're gonna need a lot later on, so we're going to define test helper dot. Okay, so hapa tutachofanya tuta use hiyo Mockito. How do we use Mockito? I have this configuration. I need at. Let me write at. Sorry, configuration zangu. Did I copy it? Command copy, command V. So tutatumia define au tutafanya setup ya hii mock. Okay, I will explain to you. Don't know what's happening. So package Mockito annotation. Come on, can you go taki? Okay, so we need to mock custom repository. Okay, so we're going to write custom repository. Okay, so this is how we define this setup for doing mocking. Tutafanya mockings nyingi sana, so this is where we're going to make them available for testing. So this is easy annotation nyingi ukiona. Mostly we have to do some code generation, and we have to ensure kwenye pubs.yaml there's something called build runner under dependency, so to help us to do this code generation, and we don't have to worry anything. We just define the class, what the class tunataka kuifanyia mocking, and it will do the rest. So how do we do that? You go on your terminal, and then that run build runner. Okay, that run build runner build. Okay, so there's build, there's watch. If you're going mostly kutakuja kuona zifanya nyingi sana, so instead of every time to run this command you can just do watch. But for our side, let's start with just do build, and then D to delete any conflict. Cannot find, oh sorry, build. Okay, so build runner build. Okay, so it dash this kama kutoka kuna conflict any file ambayo maybe tulifanywa some code generation, so it delete and start and put it all new. So let's wait for it. Okay, I think it's done. Image generate here test helper mocks. We can see this is something you don't have to modify. Don't manually edit this. This is generated code. So wame mock and wameweka hizo classes zote ambazo tumezidefine, so we don't have to worry about that. Then we just let's go and focus on doing testing for that. So what we're going to do, kwa sababu tumeshafanya mock ya customer repository, just late you can start with mock, it's already there, and then the rest of that name for that class mock. So we are going to put here mock. Okay, so let's make sure also this is ready. Mock customer repository and mock. Okay, mock customer repository. Okay, so always this is how you're going to do a lot of testing. Hii ndo inakuwa setup yake. You do late, you make sure this is, kwa sababu we cannot instantiate it itasumbua mambo ya null safety, but I never tried out. So this, and then tutafanya setup. All the setup means before testing anything below this setup, make sure everything is ready for us to do testing. So if we know tutakuwa define this get all customer use case, hata tutapofanya testing haitakuwa the Flutter will not understand, man, hii imetoka wapi. So we have to initialize it, everything, then we can start with testing. So what are we testing? We are testing that if we hit this use case, if we call this use case, it should return for us get all customer. Okay, it should return for us list of customer entity, this customer repository.get all customer. So we want to test this if it's going to work as intended, kama tulivyotaka au kama tunavyotaka based on business logic. So how do you do testing? Just test, then testing. This is coming from, I believe, from Flutter test. It's a package. You can see here, kama utakuwa huna, maybe you have to define it, but also mostly you define Flutter project, it comes with it, so you don't have to do that. But if by some point you have to define it. Testing is you describe first. Okay, so should get lists of customer entity from repository. Okay, as you know, repository, data layer and data didn't have those implementation. Okay, so this is future, so I think lazima iwepo because tuna deal na have to await it. So in testing kuna range, utaona ni nini, then act, then a set, okay, then verify. Okay, so this is mostly going to be the arrangement unapofanya unit testing. Okay, okay, so tuna arrange, tutafanya stubbing, like tuta make sure kwamba if mock repository imecall kabisa kwanza get all customer. How? We're going to use Mockito in this called when. Okay, let's continue. When mock customer repository get all customer. Okay, when I call this get all customer from the customer repository, and then answer me or return for me, because here we're testing for a success response. Okay, answer for me or return for me. Okay, the right side. Okay, remember, get all customer use case is if you're going to see here, it's an either. Okay, right side, it's always as we define here. We are only want to tunataka to the right side because the left side is going to be always failure. So the right side should be customer list of customer entity. Okay, so always we are testing for the right side, right? It should be return for us a list of customer entity. Okay, always this is how we're going to do unit testing, always. So understand the pattern. Okay, so we don't have a list of customer entity, but let's quickly define here how it should be. Okay, how it should be. List of customer. Okay, customer entity, this I believe is called bracket. Inaishua kwamba ina indicate kwamba this is customer, a list of something. For our side we need customer entity. Okay, close it. So to define customer entity ikiwa return in how does it look like. So we're going to have username, we are going to have string John, we're going to have email. I have problem with @ because of my configuration. I will call john@gmail.com. Okay, so we have first name John, last name. Okay, last name we have Doe. Okay, so we have address. Address is, I don't know, city. Okay, so what are we doing here? Tuna define this. It's how list of customer entities should look like. Okay, and this is exactly the issue kubwa, ni kuangalia hizi attribute ni type gani. You can write here anything. Okay, created that. It's a timestamp, but it's very hard to write timestamp here. I'm just trying to show you how, but also you can just take it from here. You can just take it from here. Easy sort of, maybe just this created that should be like this. Okay, updated that. Let's just take it. This is how it should be. This is when we return list of customer entity is into the. This is how it should be. So we can just take an example from this because we're doing testing. So we have to. Okay, so okay, because it's a list, hata tukiacha hivi, but let's add one. We're assuming we're going to return to customer entity. Okay, so okay, now when this get all customer will be called, we're expecting the right side to be list of customer. Okay, and if you kiangalia, if we call, let's say this one customer, okay, and then we just, let's copy this to save time. Okay, no, we don't need that. We need that. If we put here instead one customer, it's going to complain because this function doesn't expect to return the argument type customer can't be assigned to the list of customer entity. Okay, so that's why to define this one just for testing purpose. Go to tutaweka hapa, okay, list of customer. Okay, so this tumefanya arrangement. Okay, so tumearrange the first thing, then the second one we're going to act. We're going to act on what? Because we're testing this use case, guest customer use case, so we're going to act on it. So tuta act kwamba, yeah, let's assume if this use case will be executed. Okay, the result will be what? Get all customer use case dot call. Okay, kumbuka lazima ufanye stubbing. I'm finding it very hard to define it, to put it in Swahili, but mostly we have to do arrangement like call this first to make sure it's ready before calling the get customer use case, because this is get all customer use case depend on the repository or this function. Okay, so like prepare for it, make sure it's ready before acting on this or executing this get all customer use case. Okay, and then like a set, how it's going to be. So a result should be list of customer. Okay, so first make sure this function imekuwa called kwanza, then call the one you want to do testing. So kwa sababu it depends on external dependency ambayo ndo tumeifanyia mocking, so it has to make sure hii iko ready for this one to test. Okay, if you comment this and do testing, it will not work because it doesn't have, or haijawa prepared this get all customer use case ili we ready for this. Get all customer from the repository haijawa prepared ili he get all customer use case you executed. So always this is how we do it. Okay, so and then we're going to assert, like, expect the result, this one should be the right side, because this get all customer on successful response italeta the right side list of customer. Okay, and then the last one is verify. In kwenye verifying, we just making sure kwamba we're just making sure kwamba customer repository get all customer is called once. Okay, so this is how you can see it's very easy to do. Kwanza kufanya setup ya easy unit testing kwenye kila scenario, kwenye kila use case, later utaona kwenye scenario zingine, but it's very easy kwa sababu tume ensure this get all customer imeandikwa in a way that it's very easy to do testing. And tumefanya mocking kwa sababu we only want to test this execution of this get all customer, so we don't need any behavior to check the state, how this customer repository is going to behave. So with the help of Mockito tunafanya mocking. Okay, so it will help us in defining and make sure this is ready for just testing, because tunataka focus on testing get all customer use case. Okay, so the first thing so for me, I can write this down. Kwanza is arrange, act, assert and verify, and then I can start here. Tunafanya arrangement, we act on it, we expect on it, we verify. So let's test this. Okay, you can just start to run because this is the first time to make sure setup nani itaandaliwa these configurations and making sure they are ready. Okay, for VS Code you can go here, it will show you all your tests. So ukiona tiki, this test may pass. Okay, so yeah, imesema okay, your function works correctly as the way you define it here. Kumbuka, this is very important. You should define exactly what the business logic here, yani business logic yako inataka nini here, because if you write it in another way and you put it, even test can pass, you know, it's just checking here. Okay, so let's try and not returning list of customer. Okay, just return single customer. Okay, one customer. Okay, let's save it. No, not right. Expected is custom entity, but actual, this actual ndo hii hapa. Okay, so it's go hapa tulipo no, so hii hapa arrange. This is what imekuwa returned. It's a list of customer, but the expected one is custom entity, so this is not going to itakatai test. So okay, so make sure test zako ziko vizuri, lakini vile vile zina align na business logic. Okay, then okay, run this, let's return it. Okay, so you can see tumefanya na unit testing ya domain and we can see how testing it's, of course it may not be kwa watu wenye experience ya muda mchache inaweza kawa ni changamoto, lakini you can just come here later on ukishakuwa comfortable with Flutter and that, and then you can just do some testing and find how to make sure your test works, but ensure kwamba test zako zinakuwa align na business logic. Okay, so this is how kwenye unit testing always this is common pattern: arrange, act, asset, verify, always. Okay, so now we are done with also testing. The next part is to define data layer and always vitu vyake vyote vinavyojicontain kwenye data layer. Moving on to do data layer, let's add coverage report for testing, kwa sababu this help us to know what vitu gani tumefanya, classes zipi tumefanya testing na classes zipi au functions zipi tujifanya testing. So this help us a lot unapofanya testing, kujua just have a report and analysis of your testing overall. So in VS Code kuna this let's Flutter coverage, kuna hizi extension ambazo zitatusaidia. First, just install this Flutter coverage by Flutterlando, okay, and gata coverage gata, okay. So displaying test coverage generated this by ICO-VOXM, this tuta generate CC. So first thing to do ni ku write Flutter test but with coverage, naandika Flutter coverage, okay. Kuna file ita generate, let's wait for it to maliza, okay. So imefanya testing, of course is all tests will be takuwa pass kwa sababu tumeshafanya hii testing na imekuwa pass, okay, but it will add this one. This is called coverage, okay. So it ukienda kwenye testing, because of adding this all zile extension mbili, itakuonesha hapa coverage report kwamba based on the files included and classes, all any features, this is your coverage report for testing. Umefanya testing 54%. So this help us kwenye of course it's not necessary, but maybe it's good ikiwa above maybe 60. I think it will change to be green, okay. So also what it does, tukienda let's say tuende kwenye features and let's go to main, let's go use cases, it will add green, this green color kwamba this imefanywa testing, okay. So with the help of those two extension, okay, so from now on ukiwa unafanya testing you can itakuwekea coverage of what has been tested. Kwa hiyo this will help us kujua, okay, this class or this function hatujaifanyia testing, okay. So it's just giving you analysis na report of testing. So this is mainly for testing purpose, kwa ajili kuweza kuangalia. So I think add more, try later on, add more maybe execute and add these classes, au when you're going to see kwenye features zingine tukifanya vitu vingine bila kuvifanyia testing, it will show red one. So and it's just good, it's not necessary to do this. So let me recap. You had this coverage gutters and that Flutter coverage, and then you generate it. Then as you go, it will give you a report of test ambazo umezifanyia kazi, okay. So that's all. So let's continue to define data layer, dealing with the REST APIs or local data source. Maybe you implement using Hive, using SQLite, okay. So hiyo ndo kazi kubwa ya data source. Okay, so kwenye data source we have, let's define the folder. So tutakuwa na data source, tutakuwa na models, we're going to see what is it. Tutakuwa vile vile na repositories, ambapo repository hapa sasa ita focus kwenye kuimplement based on the repository interface based na abstract class ambayo tumedefine hapa. Okay, so remember hapa tumedefine, but the implementation will be done kwenye data layer. Okay, so we're going to start here with model. Okay, so why model? For our scenario tunataka kufetch information kutoka kwenye this, it can be an API. Okay, so this endpoint, this API, so hizi data zote hizi tunataka kuzi retrieve and displaying kwenye application yetu. Okay, so this is a information ambazo we have to handle this, converting them to that object so that aweze ku understand easy. I understand easy JSON as it is, so we have to do serialization and deserialization ili data aweze ku understand na kufanya proper implementation based on our requirement. Okay, so that's why we need models. So models ndo zitakuwa zinafanya hizo heavy stuffs of converting those JSON to in order for that to understand it. So that's why we need to create a model, but the model will extend from the customer entity. Okay, so this is called model. Okay, so let's define it. Customer model, extend customer entity. Okay, why? I will explain it. This one. Okay, so kumbuka domain layer kazi yake ni kutoa ku define business rules, but we need this customer model ku deal na hizi external datas ambazo hatuwezi kuzi control from okay, let me put this well. Kumbuka customer entity dina define the business object, but we need customer model. Why? Because kuna scenario maybe you're going to deal with database like MySQL or maybe Postgres. So kuna a way you're going to get this kind of data, and then you have to convert them in order for that to understand. Okay, so maybe also you're going to deal with Firebase now, kuna way of converting those data coming from Firebase in order for that to understand. So all of that we have to do that's why to define customer model, but it will going to extend customer entity. The purpose of this is to make sure we don't add things ambazo hazipo kwenye customer entity. Okay, so for our scenario it's small. Now also sometime tunaweza tukawa tunataka data ambazo hapa zikawa nyingi, maybe on the scenario of fetching single customer, maybe there are few data we need, so we don't need all of this. Maybe inaweza ikawa kubwa sana ikajaa ikawa na vitu vingi a lot, so sisi tutaangalia scenario yetu kwenye based on business logic, and then we're going to just get the data ambazo zinahitajika and not deal any of this or other data ambazo maybe zinaweza zikawa zimeongezwa hapa. Why tunafanya hivi? Because this doesn't depend on anything but on our customer model. We depend on customer entity, and then we can write our method based on the business logic. Okay, so it's just to kuwa na separation nzuri na kuensure kwamba kwenye data layer tuna deal na vitu gani, lakini consistency kwamba we extend the customer entity. Okay, so it's the same thing. Let's just go to customer entity and copy this. This is small. Kunaweza kuwa na scenario about the customer entity is too big. Okay, and then I need a constructor. Anyways, let me do it manually. Okay, so customer model, then this ID, this baadaye utakuja kufanya different database, kutakuwa na different data maybe zikaja in a way that you need to handle those data and in order for that to understand. So we don't have to do that kwenye domain. We will do with those kind of things kwenye data layer. Okay, so this to create. Okay, this I want it to be last. This dot phone number, this dot create data, this dot update data. Okay, so hapa kutakuwa kuna method moja tutaiadd ambayo itakuwa focus heavily kwa ajili ya ku retrieve this kind of data. Okay, so we'll convert this data from JSON to that in order for that to understand it. Okay, so what we will do, tutatengeneza class, tutatengeneza method invite our customer model from JSON. Okay, so this is a list of data, this is a map. Okay, it has string and dynamic. Why dynamic? Because sometimes you can return an integer, later on we can add maybe a double. So what we will do, we will write map string dynamic. This is this part. Okay, it may come in different data type, so we have to make sure we handle that. Okay, so we have an ID, JSON, okay, an ID. Make sure it's this one, ID. Okay, convert, do that, then so you can make that it's an ID. So let's do this. Let's copy illiterate there, tende haraka. I believe in the course. Okay, so there's username. It is this one. So there are methods that help us kufanya hivi vitu. We don't have to do it, but for learning purpose, let's just do it. There's email. This will come from JSON email. There's password. No, we don't need password. This is a mistake. Let's continue with other. And of course, if you don't take it, it's not going to be a problem. Okay, first name, but here first name we didn't define in another way. First name. Okay, and last name itakuwa hapa last name, but kwenye customer model yote tumedefine last name. Okay, there's address. Yeah, lakini kwenye JSON we're expecting kwamba itakuwa address. There's created at. Make sure this is very yani hakikisha unaleta that unakufanya conversion easy based on the response ambayo utapata kwenye database, because if for example this if created that itaweza kawa int or double, hii itafanya itashindwa convert and then you're going to experience some errors. Okay, purpose ya hii tuna convert it to for that to understand it. Kumbuka this is a JSON and we have to do this conversion for that to understand it. This is always you're going to deal with this whenever you're going to deal with APIs kwenye Flutter, so utakuwa unafanya hizi. So there's some from JSON to JSON, but for our scenario we're just dealing from JSON, which is this one, and then in order for that to understand it. Okay, so this has to be the same as this side here. Okay, I think it's done. So let's do unit testing. Let's test if we are expecting a valid customer model. So twende tukafanye test ya hii. As we tushaona jinsi ya kupeleka kufanya testing for VS Code, just go to test. Yeah, great for me. Okay, so the first thing tunataka tufanye nini? To check kwamba customer model is a subclass of customer entity, ina extend from the customer entity, and then tunataka to test a customer model, and when we it's returning a valid customer model from JSON. So we're going to do that. Okay, so let's write some tests. Okay, so the first thing, there's no need to set up anything here. Okay, so should be a subclass of customer entity. This kwa sababu we are extending that, so we have to test it and see and make sure kwamba it's a subclass of customer entity, kwa sababu we don't want, it's a mandatory for, yani it's ni lazima kila kitu kwenye data layer ki depend kwenye domain layer. Okay, so we are going to define here how customer model should look like. So we can write test customer model. Okay, customer model. Okay, so we have an ID. It's going to be, let's say, 1. We have username. It's going to be John. Don't know why John always. But we have email. It's going to be at email. At email. Sorry, I have a bit conflict kwenye command ya at. So we have first name, John. We have last name. Okay, John Doe. Okay, we have address. I don't know, yes, city. Okay, kikubwa ni to make sure data type it's the same. It's all string except this one and this. If you see, if we write this, it complain because customer model kwenye ID it's an int. Okay, so hivyo tu ni vitu vya kuzingatia. 06. Okay, so created at, I know that time nearly copy, but okay, I have to do it again. Okay, just copy it. Okay, created at, updated at, copy it. Okay, the first thing is to test if this is a subclass of custom entity. Okay, because if not, then we are not doing clean architecture. Okay, clean architecture means this customer model should extend from custom entity, meaning this should not add any this attribute or other that is not was defined kwenye custom entity. So this is very, very important to test that. Okay, so we're going to say expect test customer model. Kwenye testing, kwenye kuna hii API is a, so is a, you can pass any is a customer entity. Okay, Let me see here if there is a challenge. But what is a type matcher? You just unaweza ukapitisha chochote hapa. So this for scenario tunataka kuangalia hii ni type is a custom entity, is like inakuletea returns a matcher that match objects with type T, which is us. This for us is custom entity. Okay, so you can see generics ziko sana, muona hapa wametumia type matcher is T. Okay, so first time tukifanya test tuna run from the beginning. Let's go in testing here. Okay, so test imepass. Yes, this is a custom entity. Now if I remove this, okay, and I run again this test, let's see. No. Okay, so this is very important kwa sababu of clean architecture. Customer mode always inatakiwa ime extend from custom entity ambayo imekuwa define a business object. So this is we will fail. So if we fail, it will fail, utakuwa umeelewa kabisa kwamba uja. Okay, so let's go back and return this. Okay, so okay, okay, so that's good. Okay, so now let's test if this model is a should return a valid customer model frame JSON. So what we are testing here tonight, tunataka tukuangalia kama it's what we define kwenye from JSON. So is data. So what we'll do here, tutachofanya tutaandika as usual expect kwenye actual this will be coming from database. Okay, so actual from JSON. Okay, so from JSON, so it's customer model. Okay, it's customer model from JSON is going to be a string and a dynamic. Okay, so hapa tutachukua hizi, we will take this one. Hii tutapofanya testing hapa tutachukua this response tunayopata, and then we're going just to paste it here. I didn't copy it. Okay, post money allow copying. We're going to take this. Kwa hapa unashumu kwamba first it endpoint unachukua hii JSON object, and then we're going to paste it, and then okay, okay, kwa sababu tunataka to test hii tunacholetewa kwenye, no we don't need password. Hichi tunacholetewa from JSON, is it what we define kwenye nani yetu, kwenye customer model wetu. So we're going to say is a valid customer model. So if itakuwa wrong, then there's something wrong to may define. Okay, dot having. Okay, here you can just call it anything, maybe S or P, it doesn't matter. Let's just leave it as defaulted. So we're testing if we are this, it's a must. You take it from the response, and then we are going to test if we define it well. So kwenye nani yetu, so it's say here having, okay, so it will be p0 dot id, okay. Description, we are saying an ID based on this one. Then match kwa scenario yetu tumeka moja hapa, au tunaweza tukaweka okay, let's assume 3, then we're going to just put here 3. That's first. Then having, okay, so we'll do all of this. Okay, so p0 dot, let's username, description, okay, description, username, this is going to matcher, okay, match hapa tumeita nini, we take this, I didn't write this, hii ni kwenye fake in Laravel sijaandika hichi kitu uptone, okay, so uptone hall, it must be the same, okay. Okay, so we're going to add another one. Paka tumalize, we're going to go to p.0.email. Description ni nini? Email. Okay. We are going to test neon at, okay. And then we're going to have having p0 dot, what's next, first name, matcher, first name, I just call it first name, first name, matcher, that's going to be first name, Eladio. Oh, Eladio. Okay, so having, okay, p0 dot, okay, now we're going to last name, description, it's last name, okay, matcher is what we've defined here, town, okay, so having p0, is address, description, address, match is, oh, address, okay. Okay, so having p0 dot phone number, okay, description, phone number, okay, match, okay, is this one, okay. So having p dot created at, description, created at, this, okay, so okay, having, okay, p0 dot updated at, okay, so description, this is for updated at, you can also describe a lot of things here, but updated at, okay, match, this one, okay. So we are testing if we are returning a valid customer model from JSON. So we are checking from the response kama sisi tumedefine vizuri hii method from JSON. Okay, so you have to take it from the response, and then we are checking everything, kila kitu tulichokiandika kama it's a valid from JSON. So let's do test. Okay, kama kitu tumekosea tutajua mapema instead of having this error kwenye production. Maybe I want to see from this kwenye an instance of is okay, and phone number is created after updated. Phone number with value null, which not an instance of a string. Phone number says something wrong with the phone number. So you see, so this is very helpful. Okay, so there's something wrong with phone number. This is what it's coming from JSON, but okay, did we define it? No. You see, there is no phone number. So oh, thank you, testing. Okay, so now JSON. Okay, we have to check the phone number. This one, it should be the same. Okay, let's do again. So phone number have to define. Okay, so did we save? Then let's run this test again. Okay. Oh, so you see, so siku define phone number, and so this testing imetusaidia to make sure kujua kabisa kwamba there was some missing phone number from JSON. So you see, so now it's working properly. Okay, so let's do this. Let's kwenye phone number. Okay, so when we're testing, let's go here kwenye phone number, and let's keep it. Let's do this. Okay, this is how we define it kwenye application. Okay, but hichi ndio kitachokuja from kwenye API. Okay, so tumebadilisha hii to be an uppercase N. This is what it's coming from the response, and let's try to run this. You see, so it may fail because and you can see up which phone number, which has phone number with value now, which is non-instance. So it may fail to convert this to, in order for that to understand it. So umeona how it helps us to identify issues very early with testing. So normally, because I know, I will check kwanza, this is what is coming from the API, but how did I define it? So you see, phone number. Okay, this is with underscore. So I will go here and then put okay as it is from the response. Okay, and then let's run again this test. Okay, so it may pass. So so tumesha test kwamba from JSON yetu inafanya kazi correctly according to the response coming from database to. Okay, so we are expecting there will be no errors anymore unless a backend guy abadilishe, and then we are tatuambia, and then we have to do another test by adding things or removing depending on kitu gani kichobadilika. Okay, so tumeshamaliza unit testing from ya domain ya model, and then the next, let's go to data source, and hapa ndo tutapodeal na, let's add this. Let's do data source. Kutakuwa na nani mbili. Okay, so kutakuwa kuna remote data source, and then kutakuwa kuna local data source, local data source. Okay, so Hapa ndo tutafanya API calling of all of this endpoint. Okay, so let's start. So tumeshafanya testing, tumesha define model na tumefanya unit testing. Now let's go to data source, and this is where we're going to retrieve data from. This is where we're going to call this endpoint and get this tuweze kupata hizi information. Okay, so I have defined two folders, local and remote. Local, it's when you're going to fetch information from local database, meaning it's internally kwenye application yetu, and remote for fetching APIs, for fetching data from remote, which mostly ni kudeal na APIs. Okay, so the first kitu cha kwanza, let's define customer remote source dot. Okay, here let's define abstract class. Okay, let's call this customer remote data source. Okay, so we're expecting to have one function for or method of calling all customer. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're to define future list of customer model, because we're dealing with API. Kwa hiyo model tumeshaziandaa kwa ajili ya customer model, tumeshaandaa kwa ajili ya ku get those information and put them in a way that will understand. So we're going to create one call get all customer. So that's all for now. Then let's create, so abstract class zitakuwa as we go, tunaweza zikaongezeka, lakini what we are doing is we are giving it a single responsibility, and then let's inside remote define another one called customer remote source underscore implementation. So hapa ndo we will do all that implementation. So we will have a class called customer. Okay, customer remote data source implementation, and we'll extend customer remote data source. Okay, of course it will ask you to override one because hii ndo tulio define. Okay, so hapa ndo tutadil na HTTP calls or call endpoint. So in Flutter there's some package ambazo zinaweza kutusaidia ku deal with this calling endpoints. Okay, so we are going to so in Flutter kuna hizo packages zinazoweza kutusaidia kufanya kudeal na network calls. The first one is HTTP. Okay, HTTP, this one. Okay, here you can use it to deal with network calls, but for us you're going to use Dio, package called Dio. It's very good, very popular. Can do a lot of things here, interceptors, transformers, file uploading. So it's a very good package. So kwenye kwenye tutorial yetu tutatumia hii powerful HTTP network packaging support interceptors aborting. So we're going to use this. So mimi nishaiweka, nimesha import, nimesha install. So you can do this command shift P, no, command shift P, yes. Utaandika hapa, kuna hii inaitwa pubs assist, you can write here dio, okay. Oh no, you hit it and then unaandika hapa, okay. I think it's an extension. So pubs sec, yeah, this one. So that's nice in here. So if you install it, you can just install nani zako right from there instead of going kwenye internet. And so if you know the package name, it's inasaidia, okay. So nimesha install dio, as you can see here. I use that command, then imeiweka dio, okay. Okay, so here also I create one file here called network. Nimeandika network config, define this HTTP service, call this dio, and we're going pass, okay, base URL getting from here. It's nimefanya hivyo just to avoid kuwa na muda mrefu sana kwenye tutorial. And then so you can just define class. This is how we can manage all your endpoints names. Kwa hiyo as ukiongezeka zinaweza ukazidefine hapa, lakini the base URL, okay, so base URL, and then utaendelea kuziongeza endpoints zako hapa, so it's easily manageable. Kwa ikitokea umebadilisha endpoint, you just change here and it will be affected kwenye nani zako zote, okay. So HTTP service, then call dio. So kwenye customer remote data source implementation tunategemea kutumia HTTP service, that class, kwa ajili ya kudeal na network calls. I can just call API, okay. So generate constructor, but it will be required just for helping us kwenye testing, itakuwa it's very easy. So call required this, okay. Okay, so get all customer, okay. Tuta call sasa hii endpoint, so define response, okay, is equal to await, is equal to await API dot dio instance dot get path to be URLs dot all customer, okay. The good thing of doing this, tumesha always call this, tutakuwa tayari tuna base URL. There is no need to define full URL, we just pass endpoint, okay. Here it's complaining what and why this, okay, sorry, we have to use this thing, I think. Okay, so we're going to return a list of customer model. That's why it's complaining here, we have to return it. Okay, so let's check if a response dot status code, how do you know is here, status code. If there's going to be a status code based on the response coming from that, then you're going to do list customer, then response those data, okay, and then return customer.map. Why we're doing .map? Because this is an array, okay, it's an array. Ukiona tu una hit and point, there's this I think inaitwa brackets. This is an array of items, okay. So .map, okay, so there's customer model. Tumesha define from JSON tayari, so itafanya hizo fanya hii kazi ya ku convert for in order for that to understand. Okay, so from JSON this is, na tumeshafanya testing, so it will do that and return an array of customer model. Okay, if so, else throw, if it's not that, then just throw server exception. Okay, message. I will have a dedicated tutorial kwa ajili ya kudili na errors vizuri. Okay. Okay, so what is it? Okay, for performance. Okay, so first tumetengeneza abstract class, okay, of get all customer, and then deal with implementing that by using dio. Okay, so if fetch, if a response will be 200, then you're returning this. Okay, so after that, baada ya hapo kwenye data layer we are going to go kwenye repository, na kwa sababu repository tuta have an implementation of, okay, so to have customer repository, implement ambao tumedefine kwenye domain layer. Okay, so we have a class, do that implementation. Extend what? Extend customer repository, define kwenye domain layer. Okay, so you may see this is vitu ni vingi. Why all that? Maintenance and scalability, that's all. Okay, this is very easy, but when you add more feature or unafanya modification kwenye hizi features ambazo tayari umeshaziandika. Okay, so it override at return customer entity. So okay, so let's do try and catch. Okay, but kwenye customer repository implementation we will depend heavily kwenye customer remote data source. For example here tuna okay, so tuta depend heavily kwenye customer remote data source implementation. Okay, so customer remote data source, kumbuka tumesha extend this, itafanya implementation kwenye customer remote data source implementation. So you see it's help in kuwa na generate constructors, and then we're going to require, okay, required. Okay, so tuta final try and catch kwa result. If let's do result, we got to await this, put a sync here. Okay, wait, customer remote data source implementation dot get all customer. Okay, and then if it's a successful response, we return right. Okay, so we return right result. Here it's complaining because we need to import that. Okay, so kwa sababu hapa throw, here we are going to say if on server exception. Okay, server exception, Okay, return left. Okay, so just save a failure. Okay, don't worry, I will have a tutorial for dealing with these errors well. Okay, card. Okay, so customer repository implementation, to extend from customer repository by getting all those ambazo zimekuwa defined here, then we are going to depend heavily on a customer remote data source. Uzuri wa hapa, if you want to change it, then if we want to just check, we don't need any more remote data source, we can change. Okay, but also when we want to deal with local database, we can implement them there. So this is just separation of concern. Okay, so I think let's go and do unit testing to make sure define, because it's a single class. That's why imekuwa so fast. So now let's go and define and do and tufanye unit testing for this customer remote data source. Okay, so as usual, go to test, go customer remote data source. Yes. Okay, now what we want to test hapa, tunataka to test tuki execute hii endpoint itatuletea list of customer. Okay, so that's what we want to do. So let's do this. Let's copy this. This is what we're expecting. Let's copy as it is, and then go to test. Go to test, and then add dummy folder called dummy data. Then inside return, just write list of customer response dot JSON. Okay, and paste it. Okay, so why? Because tunataka tuangalie tukihit customer remote data source to get all customer, how are we going to get this? Okay, so we are using it as a sample. Okay, so after that, let's go and start doing testing. So as usual, late customer remote data source implementation. Goes to customer remote data source implementation, and then let's do setup to initialize everything before starting the test. Okay, so customer remote data source implementation. We need API. Okay, so we need API. We know we can achieve this by just mocking what HTTP service. Let's mock it. Okay, so tuende kwenye test helpers, then test helper, then let's add HTTP service. I think this one, we don't need this. Okay, and then let's go to terminal, clear so you can see well, then run that as usual, that run build runner. Okay, build. Okay, so we mock your HTTP service so tusaidie kuweza kufanya testing vizuri. So after mocking HTTP service, let's do proper setup for it. Mock HTTP service, mock HTTP service, and then HTTP service, mock HTTP services, then we will call it here. Okay, now tunataka to test two things kwenye customer remote data source implementation. The first is to check if the response status code itakuwa 200, it should give return to us a list of customer model, and if the status code is not 200, just throw save exception. Okay, so we can start in testing. We can group things. Okay, so I just for customer remote data source. Okay, so now let's start response equal to 100. So should return a list of customers when response code is 200. Okay, we're going to deal with future, so a wait is necessary. Okay, as usual, we start by stubbing. Okay, so tuna arrange. Okay, arrange. Okay, so when we mock HTTP service, kumbuka hapa tuna deal na network calls, but okay, so the instance dot get path, okay, just urls.all customer, then answer. Okay, then answer. Okay, sync what. Okay, then answer for me, then give me the response. Okay, so I've created this the response. Okay, so this kwa sababu tunataka to fake response yetu, and we are using DO for network calls, so you can take a look of this. You just return response. Okay, so here you can pass dynamic data and status code. Okay, so we're going to use that kwa sababu tunatumia DO. For HTTP, there are other ways of doing it. Okay, so here, so there's this function. Let me explain. Hapa nimetengeneza file inaitwa dummy data in a response. This is the response coming from the server. Okay, so this is a testing data, and what I've done is nimechukua tu kama ilivyo, nimecopy response, then nimeweka hapa ndani ya helpers, then it's a JSON. Okay, because we want to test, so we will take the sample and everything as kama itavyorudi, then nimetengeneza JSON reader hapa, itachukua hiyo take a look of which file, and then itafanya JSON decode of that. Okay, so it's a list kwa sababu of this bracket. Okay, so okay, now let's go back. Here we are going to specify where the file is, so it's inside helpers / dummy data / list of customer response.json. Okay, yeah, so status code we want to test for 200. Okay, now let's act. Okay, exact. Okay, so final results. Let me move quickly. I don't want this video way too long. Result is equal to await customer remote data source implementation, right? Get all customer, this method. Okay, and then let's set okay, so we expect the result to be this is a coming from Flutter test APIs. Okay, so we can say is a list of customer model. Okay, because that's what we're expecting when the response is 200. Okay, it should return for us list of customer model. Let's do quickly test. Fake use DO instance. So fake object was created, no stub was found for this DO instance. Okay, so this is a problem of writing things which is very hard to test. Okay, so we have to stub this DO instance ili tulete DO. So what can we do? We can go to test helper and then import and then mock DO. Okay, so okay, mock DO, then go to terminal. Okay, so that run build runner. Okay, so build. Okay, let's mock also this DO. What's going on? Okay, it's done. So what we can do here, we can do proper setup kwanza za mock DO. Okay, so it's mock DO. Okay, so mock DO. Okay, so let's do stub the DO instance before everything. So we can do it there right here kwenye setup. So we can say when mock http service.do instance. Okay, then return mock DO. Okay, so why is it's because kwenye hii method kuna this DO instance, and when you are testing inashindwa ku understand this. So we have to prepare the test to stub this DO instance, so it test when we run this test we should understand. Okay, so here there's no need of using mock DO instance, we can just use mock DO. Okay, okay, so that's good. Test may pass. Okay, let's move quickly to test another scenario. Okay, should throw server exception. So you want to take exception. Exception when response code is not 200. Okay, sync because we're dealing with future. Okay, so hapa tuna test this scenario if server is not, if the response is not 200. Okay, we are throwing server exception. So as usual, we start with test. Okay, I shan't take a test, sorry. We start with arranging, arrange. Okay, so when, as you mock deal.get, we can pass any, then answer, then answer, deal response, and then just say data not found, status code 44, not found. Okay, and then okay, so what are we expecting? So when this customer remote data source implementation.get all customer is called, I'm expecting it to throw, okay, throw this type of is a, in the server exception. Okay, so these all are coming from Flutter test. Okay, so we can, there's a lot of method to use here. We're checking if when we call this get our customer, it will return for us or throw a server exception. So this is how you're going to define it. Whenever ukiwa unataka anything like if umeita server exception or what, you can use is a, okay, because here we throw, so that's why we're using with it throws a server exception. So there are a lot of method you can use, just it may be not in ikawa it's not easy to understand now, but you can just take a look at this and always try out different scenarios so you can master this and try and understand easy testing. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, so it may pass. So we're done with unit testing for data layer. Now we are going to go to presentation layer. We're going to deal with state management, which we're going to use Bloc. So we're going to do also unit block testing and widget testing and presentation as well. So to define is user interface for this application. Okay, moving on to test kuendelea na presentation layer, we forgot one thing, and to test customer repository implementation, but procedure ni zile zile. Kwenye customer remote presentation, you right click it and go to test. It will create a test file as usual, and because we kwenye customer remote repository implementation, we depend on mock on customer remote data source, we will need to mock it. Okay, so procedure is zile zile, how to do mocking, and then we're going to test one thing. We're going to test a successful scenario. Okay, so we're going to test if they should return a list of customer when called to data sources successfully. Okay, and so as usual, we're going to start making sure to make call customer remote data source a method of get all customer, then it return for us a list of customer mode. Okay, so yeah, to me easy for testing. Then you're going to assert and verify if the method work inafanya kazi the way tunataka. So we're going to access it by expect the result to be equal to the right side, having a list of customer mode. Okay, so that's basically that's it. Okay, so we forgot that because come up to test to the right scenario. Okay, so result is going to be a list of customer entity. Okay, but also customer mode extend customer entity code itakubali and itafanya kazi. Okay, so that's all. Then let's move on to presentation layer. Okay, so now let's move on to presentation layer. Okay, so presentation layer, we're going to have normally is 3 folders. The first one for state, and for kwa sisi tutatumia Bloc, but there are a lot of state management out there, and we're going to have pages where we put all of our screens, and lastly widgets. Hapa tutaweka tu widget, some reusable widgets ambazo zitakuwa zina tendency ya kujirudia kwenye hii feature. So we will just try to write some clean code kwa kutengeneza maybe widget ambazo tunaweza tukazitumia kwenye sehemu mbalimbali kwenye this feature. So we normally put in widgets. Okay, so kwenye tutorial yetu tutatumia Bloc for state management. Okay, so what is Bloc? Bloc is a state management library. Okay, so ina manage state application nzima. Okay, so you may ask yourself, what is state? Normally state kwenye software, it means to change or to deal with changing or reacting based on user action. Okay, so application inakuwa na some way of changing from one state to another state based on user action. So maybe when you're loading information, unafungua application yako, information inakuwa loaded from the database, then state normally ndo ina handle showing maybe you a loading indicator kwamba something is loading, wait. State ndo inafanya kazi ya ku even switch or move from one page to another. State inafanya kazi ya ku handle your datas. So maybe when you are loading information from the database, but so the information is ikikuwa successfully zinakuwa loaded kwenye UI yako. So state is a very important thing to understand, especially unapokuwa una deal na application, unapokuwa unatengeneza application. Na ipo applicable tu kwenye mobile, even web. They also have state management libraries ambazo zipo kwa ajili ya ku manage state nzima application, and it's very important kujua jinsi ya ku do those configuration and setup and defining and implementing. Okay, so in Bloc kuna first kuna two things mostly, I can say three vitu vitatu. Kwanza, the kitu cha ku understand is like how are we defining kwanza Bloc. Okay, and kitu cha pili, how are we defining our events. What are events? Event is triggering, telling Bloc kwamba okay, user ameingia, it's look like trigger event ya kuload information kwenye database, kwa hiyo anasubiria. So event inakuwa sent kwenye Bloc class. Okay, a Bloc anaangalia hiyo event, event iliyoitwa hapa imekuwa instructed kufanya kitu gani. So this is where we will implement those business logic here kwenye Bloc. So event anasend kwamba hey, user ametrigger information ametrigger event ya kuget all user, please do as ulivyoelekezwa. Okay, so anaangalia okay, nimeelekezwa. First nimuoneshe loading indicator. Okay, so trigger the state now it's loading indicator, inarudishwa kwenye UI. Okay, wait, while you are waiting for user experience, I'm showing you a load indicator, then I'm sending the information to the data layer. Okay, and data layer anafanya all those implementation za kufetch all user kwenye database, ana bring the response inakuja kwenye block, and block atakuwa tayari tumeminstruct kwamba okay, when the information is successful or when whatever the response utakayopata huko, change the state to that response so the user can understand what's going on. Okay, so normally kwenye block you have to define events. Okay, ili events ndo zitakazofanya kazi ya kutrigger na call certain function. Block kazi yake ni kupewa hiyo event, kuimplement when we implement that event, block kazi yake ni understand amepewa maelekezo gani. Kama kutokuwa no need to change the state for now, then atatuma information to the other layer. The layer atafanya kazi yake, atarudisha hiyo response. Block atachukua hiyo response, based on that response tutakuwa tumeshamwambia nini cha kufanya kutokana na response tofauti zitakazokuja kwenye data layer. Kwa hiyo yeye atachukua hizo information, then if something is wrong atarudisha, state okay, there is something wrong with the database, or hey, I think you don't have internet maybe, so there is no internet on connection, or maybe okay, now nimeletewa response, all customer wameletwa, and then this is your list of customers. So the three things to understand, and we are going to do it. How do we define a block? Okay, how are we going to define events? Okay, how are we going to define those states? Kwa ni vitu vitatu. Una implement vipi una business logic yako kwenye block, una define vipi event zako, unazitumiaje events, una define vipi states, unazitumiaje states. So these are the mainly things that you have to master them ili uweze ku understand block, nothing much. And also block is very easy to use, na vile the biggest advantage ya kutumia block, it separate business logic na UI. UI kazi yake ni kupewa information based on state, haifanyi kazi ya kufetch information au kucall endpoint, labda kutoka huku kwenda kupeleka kwenye data layer for network calls. No, block is going to handle that, and block is going to give you only the required information. So business logic yote inatengenezwa hapa, inakuwa implemented hapa kwenye block, and ana send that information kwa kutumia state kwenye UI. UI kazi yake ni kusend events that I want to fetch customers, maybe I want to search customer, I want to delete single customer. Kwa hiyo yeye ndo ana define hizo event. Block anasoma hizo event, anaangalia amekuwa instructed kufanya nini, which we are going to do that, then anafanya as instructed, then anarudisha response kwenye state. So state kazi yake itakuwa ina state hapa, kazi yake itakuwa ni kutoa information kwenye UI. UI kazi yake itakuwa ni kusend call event, anapewa state, call event anapewa state. Block ana handle everything. If it's something that we need from data layer au kwenye network calls au kwenye local database, yeye ndo atafanya hizo heavy implementation. UI just deal with presenting the data based on the required or based on the requirement. So that is how block works. So it will show you this is the one you are going to use. These things nitakuja kuonesha baadaye zinafanya kazi gani easy, lakini for now you just click block. There's GetIt. This is a simplified version of block, but to our tutorial now tutajifunza to block. So let's click this one. It's going to ask you the name. Unataka uita jina gani hiyo block? I'm just call it customer kwa sababu tuna deal na customer, and press enter. Okay, Okay, itakwambia successfully generated customer block. Okay, as you can see here imetutengenezea. So the good thing of using VS Code, you don't have to define this class of customer block. Is going to do those initial setup. So tutafocus heavily kwenye kudefine customer event, kudefine customer state and kuzimplement hapa. Okay, so okay, so kitu cha kwanza, when we are dealing with block, we are going here, tutaenda hapa, tutaanza kwenye event. So this is where event itakiwa iwe triggered in order for block to start working on it and changing state based on that event. Okay, so kitu cha kwanza, we are going to define our event. So what do you think, tutakuwa na event ngapi kwa scenario yetu ya get all customer? Tutakuwa na event moja to start with. That event will be, hey, ita trigger user ame request umletee all customer. Okay, so we're going to extend with customer event. Okay, okay, take a look, it's very easy. Once you ukiweka hiyo extension, I showed you how to add block. Okay, so kitu cha kwanza, you just come here, hii tayari itakuelekea boilerplate. To start with, you define your event. That's going to be the first event. Okay, we are going to call get all customer event. Hicho ni kitu cha kwanza. Okay, the next step is going to customer state. So just take off this, angalia hii code inavyoandikwa. This you don't have to worry about it, itakuja tu with the use of that extension. Okay, this is how you define an event. Okay, you're going to see later on different ways of defining event and state. Okay, now state ni kwa ajili ya nini? State kazi yake sasa ni event kazi yake ni ku instruct block kwamba huyu user now ame hit au ame trigger event. State kazi yake ni change the UI based on the state. Okay, that's all. Change the UI based on state. So we're going to have how many state kwa scenario yetu ya get all customer? Okay, so state ya kwanza itakuwa ni, it's going to be initial, when nothing happened. Tutapo nothing, yani tunapoanza tu from the beginning, the state will be initial. And then we're going to have the state of customer loading. Okay, meaning what hii state itatumikaje? Kwa sababu tutakuwa na deal na network calls, we have to show a loading indicator, explaining to a user kwamba okay, ume request information in the customer kwenye database, so we are calling the endpoint, so show the indicator so user aweze kuelewa kwamba something is happening. Okay, that hiyo ni kwa ajili tu ya user experience nzuri. Okay, okay, next, what do you think? Baada ya kuload kutakuwa kuna nini? Ikiwa successful response, it means tutabidi tumletee hiyo list of all customers. Okay, so itakuwa state nyingine. If the information itakuwa successfully loaded, then we're going to have the state of showing all customer. Okay, okay, so okay, so we're going to have final list customer entity. Okay, customer. We're going to call it customer. Then we have to generate constructor. Okay. Then you have to extend with equatable. Why? Because equatable inatusaidia with equalities. So state itajua kama this setting class they are not the same. So this is very important. Okay, don't forget. Let's forget to override this with using, because they are to extend with the equatable. So it's going to be very helpful to add customer hapa. Okay, so what is he saying? Constructors. Okay, just for performance. Okay, so now customer loaded, customer loading. So the first itakuwa initial, nothing happened. Then user ata trigger event ya customer nimecall event get all customer. So okay, then the state will change from customer initial, then it will go to customer loading. Then if the information itakuwa successfully itakuwa with the 200 started code, maybe kwamba this information is imekuwa successfully, then it's going to return for us a list of customers. Okay, so we are going to have the state of showing all customers ambazo wamekuja kwenye endpoint or kwenye database. Then what if the information ikawa kuna errors kwenye database or kuna any unexpected error? So we have to show that to users kwamba to our user kwamba bana there's something wrong with this kwenye hii calling yako ya call information from database. Okay, so we're going to have a state called custom failure. What's going to do is state is just displaying what kind of error. Okay, so maybe for a scenario, maybe something went wrong while fetching. Okay, maybe please try again. Those kind of errors ambazo tunazikuta sana tunapotumia application yetu. Something went wrong or any unexpected error. Okay, so as usual, override it. Okay, then here we're going to show a message. Okay, so nimekuonesha jinsi ya kudefine event. Okay, we're going for our scenario tunatakiwa kufetch information to a database. We will first define an event to trigger. Okay, then we're going to define the state. This may continue to grow as we add more features. So the first state for this customer block will be customer initial. Customer for calling an event, for calling or for dealing with fetching all information kwenye database, tutakuwa na state of customer loading. The purpose of this is just to show a loading indicator while we are dealing with calling all customers from the database. Then if the information will be successfully, then we are going to have the state of showing all those customers ambazo wamekuwa returned from the database. And then if there will be some failure, any kind of error, we're going to have this kind of state. So normal, this is how it is. So tumeshamaliza event and state, then we're going to here is where we're going to deal with all of those kind of event and state. For some reason we may experience videos zingine au clips zingine ziko tayari na code nilielezea, lakini I think for some reason the video was somehow corrupted and I didn't see what's wrong. So mtaalamu sana kwenye hizi video editing, so I'll have to go with it for now, but I'll figure out why some of my videos zinakuwa zinaharibika, so this nili explain everything from that video, but for some reason imeharibika and I don't know why, but sorry for that. Okay, so tulishamaliza kwenye customer event, define event, define a state for this customer block. Okay, so the next step is to define it to deal with business logic. Kitu tunachotaka kufanya, tunataka to fetch all customers from the database. Okay, so this is where use cases zinatumika. Use case kazi yake ni connect between presentation layer na data layer. Okay, so to define one use case. Okay, so later on we will continue add use cases tofauti based on business requirement. Okay, so what I've done is, first of all, we define use case, we add up as a dependency. Okay, customer block, it depend on get all customer use case. Okay, and then the second step is to define based on event, get all customer event ambao tulishai define here, what do you want, unataka block hii handle kitu gani. So, okay, so for kuweka tu code vizuri, I'm just define here get all customers void function. Okay, so tumesha inject, then on it will listen if this event will be added, then it will execute this function. And what we've done here, event equal call, because we're dealing with database, there's going to be some delays until the data was successfully. Okay, so we will add customer loading, which we will use this to know which the if state is customer loading. We will show that loading indicator just for user experience. Okay, then we're going to execute get all customer use case. Okay, so get all customer use case call, it's going to return either failure or list of customer entity. Okay, so when you're dealing with either, we have something called fold. Okay, so you can see here result ina API of fold. Okay, so what inafanya nini fold? Fold, it will all just, if there's some failure scenarios, return the left side with that failure, and then for the purpose of here kwenye block, we're going to emit customer failure, and then we're going to supply it with a message coming from failure. Okay, and else on the right side, we're going to supply it with data, and we're going to emit customer loaded with data is coming from the save after ikiwa successfully. So the difference here is when you're dealing with either of that, we are going to use mostly, always, nimetumia sana hii, sijai come up kuona other methods, but I think they're always there, but always I use fold. Okay, so you fold, then it will be like two side, the left side and right side, then you're going to execute things based on your business logic. So when it's failure, then you're going to be doing, you're going to supply it with a message, and then this you're going to use this later on, you're going to see show kwenye UI, and if they're successful, and then you're going to emit customer loaded, which required us to give the list of customer entity, and we're going to give that here. Okay, so that's all. Okay, so now let's continue on the next part. Okay, so kwenye block testing, we add this package, block test. Okay, so this is going to help us to do testing. Okay, so how are we going to use it? Okay, so we call it a block test. It will need the class and its state. Okay, so we're going to test for two state. The first state should be when customer is loading, then it should move to when customer is loaded. Okay, so here we're testing for a successful scenario. Okay, get all customer use case. Okay, so now we're going to this build, act, and expect as usual. Build is like stubbing. Okay, okay, so doing some arrangement before testing. Okay, and doing some assertion. Okay, so we're going to build, we're going to call get all customer use case. Okay, we're going to call get all customer use case, and then you should answer us, answer it with okay, so we're going to get all customer use case. Sorry, we're going to mock get all customer use case, then answer us with the right side, which is going to be a list of customers. Okay, so nimesha define hapa list of customers. Okay, so this is just like tulivyofanya kule kwenye unit testing for testing purpose. Okay, and then we're going to act. So acting, it means for customer block we need to add that event on kwenye block. Okay, so how do we do that? We do it by calling add get all customer. Okay, so by doing this, it means it will start doing the business logic. Okay, so there will be the first one, it will emit customer loading, and then it will move to customer loaded. Okay, because tumesha start kwamba tumesema it should return for us the right side, so itakuwa the right side, then we're going to supply it with a list of customers. Okay, so with this the test will pass. Okay, so I've recorded all of this, but unfortunately the video was somehow corrupted. Okay, so this is how we do block test, but we're going to have a lot of examples later on. So for some people to have an understanding how to do this. Kwenye presentation layer we need to do something tunaita dependency injection. Okay, so what is dependency injection? It's a technique that helps to manage dependency between classes, okay, or component. But for example, here we have customer remote repository implementation, but it depends on customer remote data source. So this is a dependency, okay, in order to execute well this call get all customers. Okay, so this kind of scenario, always kwanza, this is a recommended way of writing this. Okay, class and its dependency, because it will help us in doing testing very easy later on. Na tumeona tulikuwa tuna mock to customer remote data source, and then we tulikuwa na ability ya kuweza kutest and expect and assert if this this function inafanya kazi as intended. Okay, so the problem is when we add a class and its dependency, whenever we want to use this, okay, whenever we want to use this customer remote repository implementation, in order to access, for example, here get all customers, we're going to face an error, because it will ask, the customer remote data source itakuwa as a required dependency. Okay, so we will need to instantiate this also and making it available also. So imagine tuna customer remote data source, tuna customer local data source, maybe tuna customer maybe dependencies ziko tatu. We will need to instantiate all of them one by one in order for customer remote data source repository to work well, ili iweze kufanya kazi yake. Sasa this is a bit of a problem, but also it's very hard to do testing with that kind of writing. So what dependency injection inachofanya, inject this at the runtime, and inject these all customer remote repository dependencies zake zote, and we're going to only call this customer remote repository implementation. Okay, so later on to an example, the problem I will show you, and utaona with the use of dependency injection how it's easy to solve this problem. But it's also very nice doing this way, because using dependency injection, because of doing testing later on. Okay, so it's just dependency injection just doing dependency injection for you, and you don't have to do that later on. You just have to call the class itself, and you're going to have all of the method ambazo ziko available kwenye hiyo class. We're handling for you that, but also in testing it's very easy to do testing. Okay, so dependency injection is very important. Okay, so let's see. We're going to use GetIt. It's a package ambayo ndio itatusaidia kufanya dependency injection and na kudeal all of the injecting the dependency kwenye kila classes. We're going to see how do we do that, and then we're going to see the problem ambayo itakusaidia it's solving. Okay, call what we customer repository implementation. Okay, then we're done. We will face no errors, and also we can access our method easily. So locator, itafanya nini locator? Kazi yake itacheki and itaangalia all dependencies ambazo tumezifanyia supply kwenye hii custom remote repository implementation, and it will handle the rest. So you don't need to do that. So next time you need any class that has a lot of dependency, as long as umeshafanya umesha register it and add all of the dependency, GetIt, it will do all that injecting those dependency for you, and then you will only just call the class, and all of those dependency will be not needed anymore. So umeona just this is the biggest issue, kwa sababu later on ukiwa na a lot of dependency for any of these classes, then you're going to have issues to make sure you do all of this injecting by yourself manually, okay, by calling this ambao tumefanya nyuma. So with locator it helps us, we don't need to do that. So it's just clean code, and it helps because of it. We need to do this kind of dependency on classes for unit testing. Umeona baadaye inatusaidia sana for doing unit testing. So we still need to do this, but how do we overcome it later on when we need this class and their method? Ndo tunatumia GetIt for itafanya injection for us, and we just call the class. Okay, so let me just delete this. We don't need it anymore. Okay, so after doing all of this registration and registering these classes and their dependency, we call this function on main. Okay, nimeshaweka hapa, we add async. I think ukifungua this main method inakuwa haina async, so you just add async, then you add await setup locator. So every time the app opens, it will do all this of dependency injection for you once. Okay, and then you can use it later on when you need it. Okay, so with that being said, let's turn it chap to move to UI. And sijafocus sana this tutorial to have build fancy UI, so we can just define it quickly. Okay, create context. We don't need context here. Okay, we can just, and the beauty of GetIt, okay, locator, customer block, with the use of GetIt, we customer block na all of its dependency is get all customer use case. So later on we will tutaendelea ku add this, we only register them kwenye GetIt, kwenye injection kule injection container, and then the rest. So with this we don't need to anything but this customer block. It needs get all customer use case, but because of use case of GetIt and tumesha register it and assign all of dependency, and in the GetIt will do the injection, and then we don't need to do anything. So this, you see, this is very nice na inatusaidia kwenye clean code. So now customer block is going to be available everywhere with kwenye application yetu. Okay, So here we can scaffold. Let me just go quickly. This is not a UI tutorial. Then just title, call text, customer. Okay, and then that's all. Let's go to body. Here, what do we need? I just need to create what I want here. Nataka ni display the name of customer, first name and last name. So what I want is just a simple card. Okay, so okay, I just want a card, and then when inside it I just need a list style. Okay, we're going to see later on this. I'm very sorry, this is not a UI tutorial, so it's for level. And also this is not for completely beginners. You have to have an understanding kidogo of how Flutter works. Okay, so text, I'll just do this and okay, and that's it. So with how do we access to tunawezaje kupata block? Okay, so quickly, this is how we're going to do it. Okay, so we need to add event. Kama nilivyoambia, event ndio kitu cha kwanza ambacho when we want to change the state and deal with all business logic. Event, to know here to get all customer event, you have to trigger it. Okay, like add or call it. Okay, kwamba I'm triggering this event get all customer, and then block tumeshaipa kazi. Remember, block on when get all customer, then this function meita on get all customer, handle that. Okay, so tumeipa kazi, call change the state to customer loading, do the business logic, call the get all customer use case, return for me either left when something is wrong, and as if no, if right, give me the data, and then change also the state to customer loaded. And with customer loaded, for us we will have tutakuwa na the data za customer from API. Okay, so this is it. So how do we do it? How do we do it? So because we can do here, I think get all customer, no, add, this is add. You can say, I'm just showing two ways of doing it. You can say get all customer. Okay, this is the first one. You can call it right away when the upload, but mostly this is not good for performance. It depends, unless it's very necessary to call that function or method when the app start. But for us, this is not what we want. But we can also do here right away after the upload, and then call get all add this event, and then it will handle the rest. But we're not going to do it here. To do it, we're going to call it kwenye customer page. Okay, why? Let's assume this is not the first page, so we cannot call it here. Itakuwa tu when you have a lot of block later on and a lot of features, maybe itakuwa problem with the performance, and because itakuwa ina call na this, and once you call the API. But I've just shown you another way. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to call it here when this customer page render or mount. Okay, then just we call it right away. Okay, so we can do it, or we can achieve that by using init state. Okay, this init state more normally a lot of time simply we use this when you want to do something right away after the page renders, okay, or mount, okay. Always, most of the time, okay. So what we want, tunataka to call ile event hapa kwenye hii customer page, kwa sababu tunajua tukicall au tukitrigger ile event, then it will call that the endpoint of giving us all lists of customer, and we will be able to display those list of customer on this page. So right away when this page loads, trigger this event, okay, right away. So we can do, how can we do that? We can do that with the help of BL off. Okay, so I'm just showing a trick. If with the ukiwa umeinstall ile extension ya Bloc, we can use BL off, okay. This is just a snippet, inafanya hivyo, BL off, okay, BL off. Then you call the block customer block, okay. Then let's import Flutter block, okay, customer block. And what do we need from this customer block? We need to add, okay. This is a way of calling an event or triggering. We use add, okay. So that's how it is going. So right away when this page mount, okay, or render another way, and then hit and just trigger or add this event, okay. And then so block provider, this is a way of calling it. The another way is you can use something called context dot read, then can call customer, I believe it's right, come on, yeah, block dot, is this some block dot add, I think yeah. So with the use of, lakini ensure kwamba that block is already tumesha register it kwenye block provider, and it's kwenye entry kwenye this entry where everything start. So you can, with the power of this, you can use this, okay. You can just call it and it will be available. But ukiwa umeita ndani ya app, then when you go to another page ndani ya a certain app, then when you go to another page you don't have access to that customer block, okay. So what do we need? So I've shown you block provider. This is the one way of, this is how you get access to Bloc and all of these event, okay. So what we need here is, we know we need to wrap this with block builder. I will show you customer block. Block builder is always kama tunataka ku change the to understand the to know the state. It mostly handle the state of this customer block, okay. So lazima wrap it with the block builder, whatever you want to change within your page, then itafanya hiyo kazi. So with block builder we have this state. This is what we need mostly, okay. So yani kama tunapata kila kitu cha customer block, tunapata state zake zote, and currently ipo kwenye state gani, okay. Then we use block builder. There's also block listener, but we'll take a look of it later on. What we need here is okay, so there's this first I don't want to delete it. So how do we check the customer block ipo kwenye state gani, okay. You can say if, we can, the power of state, okay. If state is, because we want to fetch, we are fetching, tumesha define there is something called loading, okay. If the state of this customer block is loading, then return for me. center. Kumbuka, always use return, otherwise the code won't work. Okay. Okay. If the state is okay. I normally use this. If we can use switch. Okay. Else if state is customer loaded. This is where we know kwamba tunapata customer loaded, it contains a list of customer. How can we display lists from in Flutter? There's a power of, we can use list view.builder if you don't know the amount or the length of list. Okay. Okay, so we use return. So there's list view dot builder. Normally tunapo call list of data from API, we just use list view dot builder, but I think there's count or custom. Yeah, but yeah, custom. So we are calling a list of custom entity. We use list view dot builder. So this list view dot builder always, come on, I return list of items, an array of items kwenye endpoint. Okay, so list view.builder, it has item builder. Okay, so item builder just call ctx and index. We have to return. Let's close this. What do we want to return here? Return for me this one, card. We are just tuna render tool card. We don't want to stay kwenye fancy UI here. So okay, else if okay, so stx. So kwenye item builder kwenye list builder kuna item builder, kuna item count. Where do we get this? Is from state dot customers dot length. Okay, so the block builder, it's smart to understand upo kwenye state gani, and then it will give you. So kwenye customer block kuna this one, state.customers. Okay, so this is how you get access to it within customer loaded. Okay, and then shrink wrap true. Okay, so list view.builder will get tunapata item. The first thing you have to define is item count. This is we get it from the length, because this is used for arrays of data. So in that you can have length, which gives you a maximum. There's equal data ngapi? You can see this example. So 1 2 3. I can print number.length. Okay, and then okay, so tumesema if customer is okay, else if customer is loaded. We can also check for errors by saying else if state okay is customer failure. Okay, what do you want? Because customer failure, and then you can just say center, return for me. Okay, just a text, show me the error. Okay, and also lastly, just return for me an empty container. Okay, if there's nothing else. So mostly this mostly we deal with three things when we put in a network calls. We'll check the customer's loading to show an indicator. We'll check if data is successfully loaded and imepatikana hizo data. We'll use list view.builder or grid view.builder to return, and also check if there's failure. Failure gives you an error message. You just show it, and then lastly we just return empty container. Okay, so this is how you do it. So simply when you deal with network calls, you have to register it here, a block. Okay, and then call the event here. When you call this event, so this when call this event, Always the first step will be loading, because this is the how we define it there. We start loading and then deal with that method call, and we return left or right. So left, there's custom failure, and then we can tutaonyesha your message, and if it's right, it will mean itakuja na your data, and then we'll show it. Okay, now let's do widget testing. Okay, so purpose here widget testing is to test the behavior of these widgets to is defined based on the state of coming from customer block. Okay, so normally tuna test this widget, tuna mock or tuna stub kwamba the state, when the state is this, then we should see or we should get this widget should be available. So normally it's just to test the behavior of our widgets based on the state. Okay, so as usual, let's put this to test. Go to test, create customer page. Let's delete this, though we're going to use test widget huku. Okay, so let's, now the first thing is to we're going to use customer block mostly kwa sababu tunataka to test the behavior of a widget based on the state coming from customer block. So let's mock it. Okay, mock customer block. Okay, extend mock block. Okay, block test customer event. Okay, then customer state. Okay, so implement customer block. Okay, so now let's late mock customer block. Okay, to mock customer block. Let's do some setup. Okay, then mock customer block equals to mock customer block. Done. Okay, now let's do in groups. Okay, so let's just write here customer customer block. Okay, then inside we're going to have different first. Okay, now what we want, tunataka tu kwamba on we want we want to show we want to make sure there is a loading indicator on customer when the customer block state is loading. Okay, so how can we achieve that? Okay, so test widget. Okay, description should show progress. Okay, progress indicator when state is loading. Okay, widget tester, and then we start with okay, always tunaanza start na mock. We can use when mocktail. Okay, so let's use mocktail when, oh, what's happening? Okay, so when mock customer block dot the state of it, then return that it's in a loading state. Okay, and next let's act. Let's go and act on this. What is happening? No. Future void. Okay, let's sync. I think because widget testing, it involves act. Okay, so normally what we do here, tunataka to render the particular widget here. Okay, so hapa tunataka to deal na customer page. Okay, so we have to make this widget testable. Okay, so tutaitengeneza, inject customer block and then on this customer page, and making sure kwamba it's available and we can test and find a specific widget. Okay, so how can we achieve that? What we can do here, tutatengeneza a testable widget, a reusable widget for this file. Okay, so we are going to, how can we achieve that? We're going to create a type widget. Type is a widget. Okay, and then make testable widget. I'm going to pass in a body with it, which is going to be a type of widget. Okay, and now we are going to return block provider, because we want to provide this widget with this customer block. Okay, this is very important. You have to understand this concept. Okay, so we are going to provide it with customer block, and this is how it is always, just a boilerplate. You can understand, you can use it everywhere. Okay, and then okay, we're going to create, okay, just call context and then mock customer block. Okay, and then a child we are going to pass a material up. Okay, and then home is going to be that body. Okay, and that's how we do it. Okay, and tutakapokuja kwenye acting, what we're going to do is await and then test widget tester. Okay, dot pump build and provide. Okay, this widget, which widget, and then tumeshatengeneza, but for us we need this customer page. Okay, we need this customer page. Okay, so what do we want? Tunataka nini hapa? Tunataka tuhakikishe tunaiona circular progress indicator when this is loading, because that's how we defined it. Okay, so how can we achieve that? So in testing widget, there's this way we can do. We can set. Okay, so set, we say expect the find by type. Okay, by type, what that is going to be circular progress indicator. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, by type. Okay, and just say finds one widget. Okay, so we are just telling tumesha mock tumesha tab, the state is going to be customer loading, and then we want to make this pump widget means like making it build it and render it, so customer page should be available. And then when the customer page should be available, we expect to get this kind of to see there's say a class progress indicator, and okay, so finds one widget. Okay, so this is normally just making sure this is available. Okay, so let's run this test. Okay, we are still in 64.1. okay, let's see after finishing this if we're going to. Okay, the test may pass, but I want you to show the good way, which is here we don't want to test by type because there will be a lot of type, you never know, the page may grow. We want to supply a key. Okay, so a key, you normally just write unaandika what key are you expecting, okay, and you have to try your best to be a little bit unique ili isiweze ku vurugana na kwenda ku nani ikapatikana kwingine. Okay, so here you just say key, and then you say customer, let's say customer progress indicator. Okay, okay, so we are going to use this by key, okay, instead of by type, because type is maybe the same. Progress indicator inaweza katumika sehemu nyingi. We don't want to have that type problem later. Nashinda kupata widget yako just because you use. Okay, so here we can change it and by key. Okay, and then you write here your key. Okay, you write your key. Specify key. Okay, sorry, key, and then customer pay progress indicator. Okay, I think here you want const. Okay, so let's run this again. If it's going to, I think let me save cool. Okay, so let's change, let's verify. Okay, so even if I put here v33 whatever, the wrong key which we are defining cool, it should give us an error. Okay, so this normally this error is because of this, that is the wrong key. Okay, so we need to, this is a good way to use key always tunapotaka to test hizi widget zetu instead of type, but you can also use type, but the problem is you may find that type kwenye your page kwenye areas nyingi. Okay, so now that's done. Let's test now. Let's test kwamba when the stage is going to be customer loaded, we have to find, we need to see. Okay, let's just copy it because it's going to change a bit. Okay, should show. Okay, so should contain, okay, contain customer data, customers, I think if we come on sawa, customers data when state is customer loaded. Okay, then here we're just going to change, going to be for customer loaded. Customer loaded, once you supply it with customer, how we, I think to define easy to zibe up chap. Don't want to write it again. Okay, let's just copy this, the same thing, no need to write it again. Customer loaded, then go back and just paste it, I think here. Okay, import. Okay, and then here we are going to put a list of customer. Oh, we have to make it private. List of customer here. Okay, so should contain data when the key should contain customer data when the state is customer loaded. Here we stub that to have customer loaded ready. Okay, and then we are going to check as usual. It's very easy with that. Just go to customer page, and here let's put a key. Okay, and then just call it customer list available. Customer list available. Okay, and then just copy it, and then here find by key customer list available. Okay, and then let's check for it. Okay, so test may pass. Okay, so this is there's a lot of kuna scenarios nyingi sana kwenye widget testing, how to navigate and find the file, and find the page. We're going to see that later on when we're going to test for add a scenario for create customer. Hapa tuna list. Okay, so we're going to test that, and we're going to see different ways how we do that. Okay, how to do widget testing kwenye scenarios tofauti. So this is okay. I think we are done for here. Let's do, I want to see coverage. I want to see tutakuwa tumefika wapi. I think it's coverage. What? Some test failed. Where? Can you show me Flutter widget test part? We don't need this. This is pump widget. I don't know. Can we just delete it? And then we don't need this. We're going to try. Tutakuja kutengeneza scenarios nyingi for widget testing just to. So normally after widget testing, then you're going to do integration tests like end-to-end tests. We're going to see that, okay, really. But normally test is nyingi muhimu ni unit testing, okay, and then all test pass. Save with why may decrease. Okay, so thank you guys. This is a complete the UI, it's not that fancy, lakini tumemaliza. Okay, so when you run this code, when you run the app, okay, let's reload this. Okay, so just ni local host use just Ravel, so it will run on this, and because we're using a simulator, we don't need to configure anything. Itatumia the same. Okay, then when I want to show you something, okay, so it will show progress indicator. It's like, and then it will display its data. Okay, it's fast because I think it's localhost. Okay, so this is just an updated code with I think is Bloc. Au nimechukua the current customer entity, and then I just for this data, and then me add last name and first name. I think I was last name and first name. just display hapa, and that's all. Okay, so this is the final, and the UI is not that fancy, but this tutorial ikufocus sana kwenye UI. Then this is it. Later on, other tutorials, we're going to add other functionalities ili kuweza kuelewa vizuri green architecture na kupata examples nyingi that you can use, and also I will share this source code ili uweze ku take some of anything that you think was good and maybe modifying. Okay, so okay, thank you.